Thank you for joining Cavvy Savvy in the first of what we hope to be many online horsemanship clinics. I'm Jessie Salter, blog coordinator for CavvySavvy.com. Today's clinic is brought to you in partnership by Meyer Company Ranch Horses. They're also hosting us in their beautiful facility here in Helmville, Montana. Our clinician for today is Tristan Baroni, trainer for Meyer Company Ranch Horses and contributor to CavvySavvy.com.
Hi guys, Tristan Baroni, Meyer Company Ranch Horses. Today we're coming at you with a horsemanship clinic. In the morning, we're going to start with our colts. My friend Luke Cummings, which I'll have him explain some of his horses to you so you can kind of get a perspective. And what I'm trying to do with this for the morning session is he's going to work his young horses. Luke, he has a family, he has a job, he has quite a few horses, and he raises horses with Pidcock Cokes in the Northern Division. And we're just trying to give you a perspective like you'll have, because we're not all horse trainers. We don't all get to ride every day. So what I'm hoping is we can run into issues that people normally run into, and we can kind of work through them, and we can all learn together. In the afternoon, we're going to do some finer horsemanship. Luke brought a bridle horse with him, and I have several of our horses in the bridle, and we're going to show those. So I'm going to have Luke come in and tell you a little bit about himself and the 3 horses he brought to use this morning.
My name is Luke Cummings. I've got 3 kids, a business. I got a busy life, and I'm just doing the best I can with my horses. This is a young stud here, and I kind of rely on Tristan and information like Cavvy Savvy to help me out. Again, I'm just doing the best I can, and hope to get better.
So where are your horses at? Like, how much riding do you have on your stud horse?
So we started this horse in the summer. I kind of quit him after a couple days riding and picked him up in the winter. I would say less than 20 rides, 30 rides somewhere. I don't really keep track, but my rides are oftentimes distracted. Again, just trying to do the best I can, and you'll kind of see that. But yeah, that's kind of where they're at.
So he's 2.
He's a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old stud colt.
And then the other horse you brought?
Palomino is going to be a 4-year-old who Tristan spent some time with and is doing really well. And then obviously an 11-year-old older horse.
So what we're really hoping is you guys send in questions and comments, and we have all these topics that are kind of the common topics, and those are what we're going to cover. And we're just hoping to give you a wide perspective. I've got one guy here so we can kind of individualize it and really give you a good look at everything. And we're just trying to do this through your eyes, because so many times I found with horse trainers and information, they give you the information that they're thinking of, and that's not so much what you need as an everyday user. We need to break it down to where it's more friendly and more understandable, because at the end of the day, what we're working on with our horses is communication. And, I don't know anyone who couldn't use getting a little better communication, not just with their horse, but in everyday life. So that's our hope today, and we're thankful. I appreciate the ranch allowing me to do this, and Cavvy Savvy coming to put this on. And at the end of the day, I really do hope this helps you with your horses, and we can all be a little bit better than we were yesterday. We're getting started with our web clinic. We're going to start with just a little bit of groundwork. I'm going to go over some things that I like to check out and that I'd like Luke to check out, and then we're going to kind of switch back and forth so you can get some different perspectives. So we're going to get started. One thing I really enjoy is just when I come in the morning, I like to see where my horse is at, both with my groundwork and when I ride them, because I think it's a lot like life. Like if you have a boss, because this horse, he's working for me. We're partners, and I'm leading the deal. So I need to come in and see where he's at. Does he travel around here nicely? Is he pulling on my left hand? If I just come out here and ask him to speed up, does he speed up? All this is checking in to see where my horse is at. Because we've all had like a boss or something who just jumps right on you and doesn't really check in. It doesn't take real long before you get tired of that and you're not really excited to be there. And so with the way I ride, not trying to force things to happen, trying to set them up and get the horse to want to work for me, it's real important that I check in with him and see how he's doing. And now I can kind of turn it into something. I can work on my hindquarters here. Maybe I can turn it into back in an arc here. And through all these, I'm just going to see where I need a little more impulsion. I'm just going to see where my horse's mind is. Is he willing? Can I take the energy over here? Yeah, he's paying attention. So that's all we're doing. And you can do whatever groundwork maneuvers you like. A lot of people like to teach the hindquarters and the front quarters. And in those movements, there's a ton to learn. But what's important is that you're aware of what you're doing. You're not trying to repeat what I'm doing, because you won't really know where to head, and your horse will know that, and he'll get confused. So when Luke goes around here, he's just going to check his horse out. He hasn't used this bag with his horse. So we're just going to see what his horse thinks of it. And this is a pretty young horse with not a lot of riding. So we're just going to check him out and see what needs worked on. I would imagine that bag under his chin might bother him a little bit, or back towards his flank. But as you notice, Luke isn't just rushing to that. He's kind of letting him travel and just see where he's at. This is a great time to check the soundness of your horse, if he's got any tight spots in the neck, things like that. And something that I'm sure you guys know is there's a big difference between the tarp when you're stationary and the tarp when the feet are moving, the horse accepting that. There you go. So kind of work on that spot, Luke. You found a little, it's when you swing that bag from your knee up is a spot that scares him. There you go, and just kind of keep that movement going until the feet and the body just relaxes. We don't need him to stop. We just need, there you go. So see, when we're going around here, maybe you have your tarp and you start to shake it and your horse starts trotting or, moving quite a bit quicker. What you'll do is you'll just hang in there with that tarp until the feet just start to slow down, until the body starts to soften just a little bit. And then you'll back out and you'll start again. Now we'll have Luke step it up a little bit. Maybe he'll have his horse go around here, and maybe he'll bring him up to the trot. And now maybe he'll kind of take that bag and run it from the ground up towards his horse's flank and see what he thinks about that in kind of a sweeping motion. See if he can't stimulate some spots. Because what we're trying to do is bomb-proof our horse here. We're coming from different angles because the horse is a prey animal, right? And when they get scared, they switch to the sympathetic nervous system, and which is fight or flight, and generally it's flight. So what we're trying to do right now is we're showing the horse that yes, he may get in a little kind of a hairy situation, but we're going to show him a way out of it. And this is real important because maybe you have a horse that you've been bucked off of or you're scared of or something like that. Well, here on the ground, you can start teaching him to look for solutions so that by the time you get on his back, he doesn't overreact as much. And if he does overreact, he doesn't get lost. And when I say lost, I mean go to bucking or running off and having issues like that. So the whole time, we're working on the mind and we're looking. What are we looking at? We're looking at their ears, their eyes, their muscles. Are they hard? Are they soft? Are they relaxed? Are they willing? Are they ready to work with us? Because that's this whole deal. You haven't seen Luke give him any treats or hit him with anything. He's offering a feel up, and when the horse gets there, he relieves the pressure. That's how horses learn. I hear a lot of people talk about horses learning from pressure. Yes, that's partially true, but what the horse actually learns from is the release of pressure. And that'll be one of the topics we cover today is timing. That is going to be the difference between you getting something done, doing it once or twice, or you having to repeat that same activity over and over and over again. There you go. And see, when Luke's doing this, you notice he's not just doing the same thing. He's checking out some different things. Now I'm going to have him do one more thing, and then we're going to kind of get on and cruise across the arena and see what comes up. I'm going to have him take his horse around, roll the hindquarters, and then just really bring the life up through the front end and have his horse kind of do a reach offset in the front end. And a lot of times this will present a spot, especially in a young horse, because they have to come alive. There you go. Now kind of prepare on this one and dial your energy up. There you go. See, that's the spot we're looking for, is that right there. So now kind of, wait. Now kind of quiet him back down. See, he's kind of looking at you, kind of wild-eyed. Make sure you're looking at the whole horse, not just his feet. Got to look at the whole horse, because how they give most of their communication is what we're talking about, through their facial expressions, their eyes, their ears. When the horse is understanding things, you should see him working the mouth, shaking, blinking, lowering their head. Their expressions should soften, all of these kind of things. There you go, Luke. Maybe let him stop, and now don't do anything. See, you see how the horse is working his mouth immediately? Now watch this. Don't touch him. I don't know, you probably couldn't hear that because I have my mic on, but the horse just took a great big breath. Now the horse is going to look for Luke. But what we want, especially this being a stud horse, is we don't want that. We don't want him bleeding forward towards us. So Luke's going to just rock him back. And now stop your feet, Luke. One more step. One more step. You see, if Luke left him with that foot out, he's leaving the horse in a position where the horse is prepared to bleed forward. We don't want that, and especially because he's a stud, we'd like him to respect our boundaries. When we invite him into our space, he can come. But until then, we'd like him to stay. Good. And you see he's working his mouth. All these things are making sense to him in his brain. What's really important with our horse is that when we ask them to move or we ask them to stop, they do, because that's what keeps us safe. So the whole time in our riding and our groundwork, that's what we're trying to work on. We want to see where our horse is and if we can influence his behavior and influence what he's thinking. Because at the end of the day, if we can influence what he's thinking, we can get him to do anything, which we'll kind of show you after Luke gets done with his gymnastics. And I think we'll go ahead and get on and ride. Your horse looks like he's plenty ready. And so when we get on here to ride, Luke and I are going to do the same thing that we just did on the groundwork. What I like to do is okay, for those of you with a significant other, usually when you get home, you would like to check in if you'd like to maintain a relationship just to see where that other person is, because you don't know what they went through during the day. And maybe if you come in just a little too hot, it might not go very well. So the same thing with our horse. You kind of want to get on here and let him walk around and just kind of see what he's thinking, and then start to influence the behavior. Because like what I was talking about with the groundwork, you just get on and you get to shouting and telling him what to do. It's not going to be very long, and he doesn't think too highly of you. So we'll go from there, and then the horse will give us what we need to work on. So we're just going to kind of cruise around, warm our horse's legs up, see where their minds are, and talk to you about it. This is something I really enjoy, and what I'm hoping it's going to elicit is I'm hoping that this little stud horse is kind of going to want to check out my horse, which he is. And that's going to give us an opportunity to work on herd bound, which is one of the biggest questions I get is how do I fix barn sourness or herd bound with my horse? And okay, I'm going to explain to you why that's so important. And before I do that, I'm going to help Luke a little bit. So Luke, if your horse starts to get over here to crowd mine, just use your legs a little bit. Yeah, so we want to try and use minimal aids to deter him. What we're working on right now is just getting our horses to move, stretch their legs out. So what I would like Luke to do, if his horse kind of hooks on mine and wants to get up my horse's rear end, he'll just work his feet a little bit faster until that horse gets to thinking about doing his own thing. When he does, he'll kind of relax and let that horse find some peace. That's what you'll do when you're working on herd bound. What I see, one of the biggest issues that people have is with herd bound, they always try and get the horse to leave. Well, that's the end goal, but we're teaching. That's not where we start from. So here, I notice Luke's working on something. I'm going to stop so he can work around me. Now what Luke's going to do is he's going to make being with my horse difficult. And then when this horse gets straight and goes to leave, he's going to make it easy. And now what we're going to do is we're going to let this horse stop. And this is what you might do. Maybe you're at your barn or at your pen, wherever your horse likes to stay or hustle back to. Start from there. Don't try and leave right away. Start at the place the horse wants to be and work there until the horse would like to leave. So what we'll do is we'll have Luke start up with his legs, no hands, and just see where this horse wants to go. And see, he's kind of coming here. Now that Luke sees that the horse decided to check me out, he'll speed up. He'll speed up. There we go. See how he's using his legs to influence the mind? He allowed his horse to tell us what he was thinking. His horse said, oh, I'm going to go check out that gelding. I'm a stud horse. I like to kind of see what the other horses are doing. We want him to be a respectable member of society. We want Luke to be able to take that horse and ride him anywhere. So what we need for that, for Luke to have full control of the horse's mind, is we need the horse to be thinking about Luke, not thinking about the other horses. So we've got to get him independent that way. And that's what we're doing. And now Luke will start up with his legs one more time, and we'll see where old Patron would like to go. See, the mind is still with Luke. Now let's see what the mind does. It's still with Luke. See the difference? Now the horse isn't thinking about coming right back. And that didn't take but 30 seconds of work. And there wasn't any running around or pulling and things like that. So what Luke asks is you got to allow him to make the mistake and then fix it 100%. And we don't want them to get lost in the mistake, but if we don't allow them to make it, it's just like with your kids or when you're teaching somebody. You can talk and explain things till you're blue in the face, but until they're actually experiencing it, actually going through it, they're not going to know the significance of it. And then they're going to go, oh, they told me about that. Well, they'll do that once they've learned the lesson. So what we're trying to do is cut that off. That's what this whole thing is about. I get to study this every day, so I'm trying to share it with you guys so you don't have to make the mistakes that I've made and watched other people make. Now here, we'll have Luke come out into the arena a little bit more so the camera can get a little better angle on him, but we're going to work on some hindquarters and things like that. This is a really good movement to have on your horses. You saw us working it on the ground. But we're going to go over this and really make sure Luke has the hindquarters working nice with this horse. So go ahead and hang in there. You'll notice Luke's hand position. The rein is right along the neck. You don't have to have your hand way out to the side. The front feet are going in a smaller circle. Hang in there. Maintain the flexion. Maintain the flexion. There you go. The front feet are going in a smaller circle. The hind feet are going in a larger circle. Hang in there a little bit longer until the horse gets peaceful. If you guys will watch what just happened, Luke kind of hung in there, but then he released when the horse was scrambling a little bit. That breeds insecurity, not confidence. So what Luke's going to do there, see how his feet stayed? Luke was more thorough, more effective with his communication, which is all we're talking about today. How can we make our communication more effective? I mean, if anybody's ever watched a horse, you watch them outside, and it doesn't take them but a week or two after being born to be doing lead changes. But yet a human can get on there and can't get it done. And it's not because the horse can't do it. It's because the human isn't a very good communicator. But a lot of people would just like to make excuses and blame it on the horse versus look at themselves. So that's what we're doing, is we're trying to communicate better. How are we learning that? We're learning that from the feedback the horse gives us. We got the greatest teacher ever sitting right here. So Luke's going to draw on that rein more, a little more flexion. There you go. Now, just hang in there. Try and get a little more flexion. His neck's still a little stiff there. A little stiff. We'd like him to straighten up. Smoother with your legs. Your legs are a little stiff, Luke. So another really important thing that just came up here. See, this is great. This is everything we wanted out of this clinic. Luke's legs are a little stiff. When your legs are stiff, it's like having the radio up on loud. When you actually go to use them, they don't mean a dang thing because they've been making noise the whole time. Whereas when you're going around here, you want to do the minimal. You want to have your legs as relaxed as you can, so that way when you need them, when you do stiffen up, there's a change in the horse. Ooh, that's starting to get better, Luke. Almost. See, he'll get a couple steps, but this horse isn't quite to where he's making it all the way. Keep that hand in along the neck. You need just a little bit more flexion, Luke. You're kind of right on that line where you're not doing enough, that you're just not getting anywhere. Less with the legs. Go ahead and get the neck right first. So a little more flexion, no legs. Just quit your legs here for a minute. Just the flexion. See what we're running into? He doesn't understand that. Don't do more. Don't do more. Just hang in there. So see, the horse is showing us what the issue is, and Luke was trying to cover it up. And what we need to do is address the issue. Just wait. Just wait. As soon as that flexion comes, you're going to release. Right now, he's doing all good things. He's searching for a solution. And you're doing, okay, now I'd get out of the way a little bit quicker. I know his flexion wasn't perfect, but he struggled for a minute and a half. So you kind of want to get out of the way a little faster. Quick, I'll show you. We're going to kind of address this with Luke's horse. We want these flexions here. If you'll notice, my horse's head is nice up and down. His ears are level. That's the flexion we're looking for, and that's kind of what we'd like Luke to turn to. And this, as you see here, you'll see a lot of people, they'll go down this rein and snag their nose around. I wouldn't advise that. That's where you're going to get a horse that's heavy and you got to kick on. If you just go down this rein, just right here along the neck, this horse will flex right here through his throat latch. I really want you to look at that on this side here. Notice how my horse is coming around in his neck, and he's actually bending through his body. You don't want the ears to the ground. Why do we not want the ears to the ground? Well, when the ears are to the ground, the horse starts to weight the front feet. When we need the weight to be a little further back and more balanced. So keep that in mind when you're working on your flexions. It's not force, it's feel. We're trying to get the horse to understand what we're asking. If we got to pull on him and bang on him at the halt and at the walk, we're not going to have very much luck when we get to the faster gaits, and we're not going to be able to do more complex maneuvers. So Luke is going to work on his flexions here, and I'm going to kind of coach him through that. Good. So see, his horse went ahead and looked around that way, and Luke just took advantage of it. Now what he's going to do is he's going to kind of wait until that horse levels his ears out just the slightest bit. And when he does, he's going to release. And he's not going to use any legs. This is a waiting game here. You're showing the horse that you will wait for him. And see, this horse might try a few things. He might move his feet. There. Luke ought to have gotten out of the way. He was about 2 seconds late. That's all right. So you guys will study that on the camera because that was a minute detail there. Now maybe Luke will bring his horse back this way so you can get a good look. And we'll check out the other flexion. Right down. Much better. See how he came through there? Oh, but there's our spot. That's what you were running into a second ago, you see? So all we need to do is just take the time to show him this, and then we can carry on. Let's see, we're just waiting for the ears to level. There they got a little bit worse. Here he's trying some things. He's flexing more. See, what happens is when, there you go, that was better. When the horse's ears are crooked, he's kind of going like this. And that's not a very efficient way to move. What we're trying to do is get the horse balanced. A big reason horses get scared is because they feel unbalanced. And we get back to the prey animal thing. How do horses get away? By running. If they feel that they can't move normally, it stresses them out. And it gives them anxiety. So what we're trying to do is get our communication. Notice the horse is licking, chewing, shaking, yawning, his eyes are rolling in the back of his head, all because we just stopped and actually taught him a concept. And we won't have to do that over and over and over again because we made sense to him. That's what I'm trying to get the point across to you guys. You don't have to ride your horse for 2 hours. If you ride him for 15 minutes and you're in the moment, not thinking about your bills and your girlfriend and your dog, and you're just focusing on your horse, you can get a lot done, and you can learn an awful lot about yourself too. Let's just cruise around here and see how your walk to trot transitions are, and I'll do it with you. So we're just going to move around, and since this horse is pretty green, we don't want to stick on just any one thing for too long. Yeah, so Luke said the left side's way better than the right, and I would agree, but I think we just made the right side quite a bit better. And he showed us that with his feedback. What I wanted to see there was, did Luke's horse hook onto me? No, he stayed with Luke. Now, what we're going to do is Luke is just going to roll him up into a nice trot. He's going to see how smooth can he. There we go. Just right. Just right. See, the horse wanted to come back. This is all good feedback. With our young horses, we need impulsion. We need the horse to be able to move forward without concern that he's going to get upset. We need smoothness in the transitions. The spot where horses will often get upset is when the transition is very drastic, it's very stark, it's not fluid. So we're going to check that out. Luke's going to ease his horse right back into the trot here. Good. Now he's going to start to lengthen the trot and post. Lengthen, lengthen. There you go. See, your horse started to get a little straighter. There you go. Good. He's a little concerned with that ball. I'm going to peel this ball off the fence here. Whoops, I'm not doing a very good job. I got my Pro Cutter wires in the way. Okay, Luke, whenever you're, ooh, that was a smooth transition. See what happens when you feel of him? How about that? Yeah, that was straight too. There's a little crooked in the hind, but pretty dang straight. Way better than last time. All right, now just go ahead and ease him off again at the walk. This time we're gonna check out Luke's lope and transitions. I'd like to see how they look. Okay, bring him up to the trot. We're gonna just play with that. Just so before we get to the lope, Luke, you want to make sure he understands your impulsion good. Like when you liven up, does he liven up? Now shut the life off and come to the walk. Relax. You're not relaxed. See? You're pulling on that rope strap and you can't relax. You just got stiff because you thought he was going to get nervous about that ball. If you get stiff, he feels that something's different. He doesn't understand it, but it's energy into the system and it makes him unsure. Okay? Now liven up, real brisk trot, like you got some cattle to go get. Yeah, there you go. Now just ease him into the lope. Just real smooth, like you're headed somewhere. There, you're in your left lead. Keep riding. Don't quit riding. Go ahead and lope. He's ready. Yep, left lead. Now you can kind of keep the energy up. Keep the energy up. Good. Maybe take the energy up more. You're playing on that edge again. You're just not doing enough. There you go. Now bring him down with your body, not with your hands. There. And what I'd like you guys to notice is this horse doesn't have very much riding at all. And you look at how he's reading Luke's body. That's what we're looking for. Why do we want him to work off of Luke's body? Well, if we get him working off of Luke's body real nice, when he actually goes to using his hands, they'll be real effective. They'll work and they'll mean something. So that's what we're looking for, is if we can just break down things. What happens with horses is people will come in and they act like this horse ought to know everything, and they don't actually set him up to learn it. So we've got to present the material in a method to where he can understand the concept. Whether we like it or not, when we're up here, we're the teacher. We have to articulate our ideas in a way that he understands, especially if we don't want to use force. Like for instance, this turnaround. I'm just kind of holding my hand here because I like this horse to come through here. When I have someone else riding him, they're not going to be perfect. He needs to know how to reach through here. When I start this turn, I'm going to be aware where my horse's feet are. Right now, my horse's right foot is in a position to reach. He also has his weight slightly back over his left hind foot. I'm going to turn him to the right. What I would like him to do is stay stationary on the left hind foot. Why would I do that? Well, it's a ballet turn. That's a way I like to turn my young horses for several reasons, and I'll tell you why. What I'm simply trying to teach here is balance, fluidity. I don't have to hold this horse here. He knows his position. I'm giving him some ownership. When you have an employee, you want to tell them something, you want them to handle it, and then you want them to look for the next thing and handle their own business. You don't want to have to babysit them all the time. That's what we're trying to give our horses. We're trying to say, hey, I need these feet out over here. I'm going to ask you, and then I'm going to do what I need to do to get it done. Can you speed them up a little bit? Can you slow them back down and the horse stay and wait? All of these things you should check out. Can you turn it into back in an arc with your horse? All this is body control. And we can work on all of this at the walk so that when we go to start doing our loping or whatever our event is, if we compete in things, we have some understanding with our horse. We know what's smooth, what's sticky, like Luke said. He has one side of his horse that's quite a bit better than the other side. How do you find that out? By checking this stuff out. And when you're doing this, play with the life in your horse. Don't just train on one thing the whole time. Like if I'm backing this horse up and I want him to come over here and liven up and do a reach offset, he will. But it's because he's looking. So keep that in mind. We're just trying to get these horses to feel of us and look so we can control their feet, and they'll allow us to. Just like to get it to where my horse is used to a rope coming around him and behind him and things like that. And I'm not going to stick on this for super long because I'm going to show you the actual dragging aspect of it. But then, how I like to start is like with a tarp or with just a rope because there's no weight on it. And I'll let this horse drag something that doesn't have a lot of weight just to learn that he can push against it. Because a spot that horses usually get tight with and get worried is when there's pressure. And they only get upset with that because they don't know how they can mitigate it. They don't know how they can get away from it. So what I like to do is I'll drag something light like this and let my horse understand that he can pull this and it's not going to weigh him down. And once I get this good, when I start, I wouldn't do what I just did there. I would start pulling it this way. As the horse advances, then I would allow it to get down here around his hocks. And I like a horse to get real confident about that. Because when you have issues in the roping arena and things like that, it's oftentimes because the horse gets concerned about the rope coming tight around him. So if we start with something light, and see, we can work on that. If we start with something light like this, it'll give him confidence. And then I would switch to what's in the other part of the arena here, this log, something with a little bit more weight. And I'll kind of show you how I would start that. And this will be the way I'll drag something for the first time on a colt. So, one thing is, whenever you attach something to anything, I see people do this all the time. Don't do it. Why? Because I've seen people get in wrecks doing it. When you get off, don't leave your coils on your horn. If something were to happen and he were to take off, which will probably happen when you're working with your young horse, these will suck down around the horn and you'll have a catastrophe. Avoid catastrophe. So when I start something like this, if I was doing this for the first time, I'd like to have my horse nice and straight with the object. I'll just put one turn on my horn so I can slip slack if the horse begins to get afraid. And then I'll start back. I want to drag this object back. That way my horse can get confident. He feels like he can move away. Once my horse gets good at that, I'm going to leave on a very shallow angle where he can still see this in this one eye. I'm not going to let this rope touch his hip here, you see. I'm going to keep it off. As the horse gets more confident, I will pull straighter and straighter and do what I was showing you with the bag, where I'll let the rope get on my horse's hip. Because that's what we want in game, is we want a horse that's confident with this rope on any part of his body. So that's what we're working on. And then, just like I was branding or roping cattle, when I get finished, I'm going to want to roll my hindquarters, face up, and have my horse rock back. So that's kind of how I would start to prepare a horse. I'd start with a light object, and if it's a real sensitive horse, I'd start just with a rope. And then once I got him real nice and confident about the rope, I might put a bag on the end of it. And then if it's a real sensitive horse, I might use a little bit smaller log the first time, and then the next time I'll use the full-size log, and then they're pretty quick. You'll be able to drag calves with confidence. When we're talking softness or the soft feel, which you've probably already heard me say a bunch and will continue to hear me say, is we're talking about this. We're talking about longitudinal and lateral flexion, okay? What is longitudinal flexion? Longitudinal flexion is straight up and down right here. Lateral flexion is what we were showing you earlier, rein across the neck, the head bending this way. The combination of the two is longitudinal and latitude. Oh my gosh, my words are breaking. But that's what we're looking for, is both directions of softness. We want to be able to roll the pole any direction and have it work well for us. How do we start that on our horses? This is what I'm going to have Luke do here momentarily. We start it with one rein. We want to be able to draw on this rein and notice how my horse is getting soft both longitudinally and laterally. There we go, I got the words out right that time. So what I'm trying to do, how do I get this softness? When I'm going around here, if you'll watch this horse's right hind leg, I'm hooking this rein to the right hind leg, and subsequently the rib cage and the neck and the shoulder. And why do we teach it off one rein? Well, if you think from a teaching standpoint, one is less than two. If you're using two reins, that's double the stimulus. Okay, you're yelling when you really just need to be talking. Nobody likes that when someone comes in and is super overbearing all the time. Everybody kind of avoids that person. So don't be that way with your horse, because they're way more sensitive than people, and they darn sure don't like that. So we're going to come around here. Luke's going to start working his horse, and maybe he'll get away from these obstacles and kind of out here in the center where he has a good space to work. And we're going to work off one rein. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk you and Luke through the timing and what I'm kind of seeing here. And then after we work on this lateral aspect off of one rein, then we'll start working towards two reins and seeing if we can carry some softness around the arena. There, that was better timing, Luke. Now let's just stay on one circle for a little while. Let's just work one side. All right, have those feet driving, power, power. Not so much with your legs, but more your body. Like look out there kind of where you're headed. It's good to look in and check and see what you got going with your horse, but you got to be looking where you're going too. Because if you're looking right there, you're kind of killing the energy. There you go. There you go. Now, maybe don't put quite so much flexion in them. Just kind of try and get them to look and soften up there and then get out of the way. And then build upon it. Legs, legs, legs. Come on. You need impulsion. There you go. That's the walk I want right there. Good. Now he's just going to wait for this horse to soften through his neck. You can kind of see there. Good timing. Now step the front. Go ahead. Keep on the hind there. Now I'm going to have Luke speed the front feet up and turn and switch directions when he feels nice and soft, right about there. Now Luke's going to speed the front feet up, good, and come out the other direction. Good. See, he got soft right away, but keep the life in his body. That's what you're having trouble with is, you can get the energy, but it seems like you're having a hard time maintaining it. So what Luke is doing to work on that is when the energy dies, he gets busy with his legs. When the horse is moving real nice, he's relaxed, he's peaceful. If he brings the horse up to the trot, that's okay. But what you'll notice is what we were talking about earlier. And all this video, I'm kind of building on it. So if you really want to get a well-rounded approach and you kind of care about this, I would advise watching all of it. Otherwise, some pieces might not make that much sense to you. But what we're trying to do is get Luke to come around here and just get to where he can rotate his horse's pole both ways at a nice gait. Because if we get this fluid here, when we go to the trot and we start getting softness in a straight line, it'll be much smoother. Much better. See how much quicker his nose is coming across there and his ears are leveling out? Good. Okay, now this horse is a young feller, so what I'm going to do is ask Luke to stop whenever he gets ready. Yep, good. And see how he stops straight? Look down at his hind feet. That's how you need to stop him every time. Straight. Okay, when they go together. That's what we're looking for. And did you feel he was kind of looking one way, kind of looking the other way, and then he got straight? For you guys watching, that's super important. All right, you asked the question, how do I teach the horse to stop? Well, what you do is you wait until he's ready to stop, and then you reward the behavior. That way, it's his idea. He's thinking about stopping, and you say, oh yeah, that's great. Versus you running around here, you sit back, and then you go to pulling on his face. What does that cause? That causes a brace. The back will flatten out, the neck and head will go up, and the feet will not slide. Like if you're lifting weights or you're picking up something heavy, your core needs to be tight, your back and abs need to be engaged to do it safely. And if you've ever seen someone lift something with a hollowed out back, it looks quite awkward and it's not very effective. Same thing with your horse stopping. So how do I get a young horse to learn how to stop? I feel of him. I'll ride around. When he thinks about stopping, I will kill the energy in my body. I'll be just like this. When I'm sitting here, I want my horse to be just like this. Why? This is why my horse does what he does. When he does an activity, I give him peace. That's all the horse wants at a stop, and that's why so many people have a hard time getting stops. Because they're so physical, they're pulling on the horse and they're crashing on his back. That's not enjoyable for the horse. He's not finding peace in the stop. So what we need to do is allow him to gain some understanding. Allow him to gain a moment at that stop. And then even more so, something to help you guys, when you're first teaching your young horse to stop, after he stops and you reward him, don't ride him forward. Turn him out of it. Because when I teach my horses to stop, I want them to imagine that we're on a cliff. I'm running and there's a cliff and I want him to stop and not go an inch further. Why? Well, I'll fall off the cliff. That's what I want the horse to think. Because sometimes when I'm working with people and we're starting these horses or I'm outside doing a job, I need things right now. And the horse needs to understand that so we can both stay safe. Because let's be honest, in the real world, when you're out there working or riding, you don't know what's going to come up. You deal with what's at hand. So all of this, we're just trying to get our horse to rely on our body and find peace in what we're doing. So at the end of the day, if something comes up that we weren't prepared for, he knows we have his back. And versus reverting to the sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight, he'll say, hey, Tristan, you got that? And I'll be like, yeah, I got that. And then there's no bucking and running off and whinnying and pawing. Versus if you do not reinforce those positive behaviors and give your horse peace, A, you're either going to have to beat on him, B, you're going to have to give him lots of treats, or C, you're going to have an unruly horse that you can't do much on. Because when there's too much stimulus, he's going to say, I know that person sitting on me can't handle business, so I got to handle it myself. And he's going to buck, run, paw, whinny, all those behaviors that we don't want. That's why horses do that. It should look something like this. Luke's isn't going to look like this because this horse hasn't done a lot of it, but we want it both ways. We want the horse balanced on the outside hind foot. This is a ballet turn. There are several different variations, and you can use this method for all those, whether you're doing working cow or a reining turn. They all like to do them a little bit differently according to what the judges want to see. Luke asked a great question. How would I start? I would like to start on my young horses with the hindquarters. So I'll have my rein right here along the neck. I'll get my lateral flexion. In this case, my right leg will slightly tighten. I will step the hindquarters through. When the hindquarters feel nice and the horse is not weighing on my hand, I will then open the door and guide the front feet through. Apparently, if you noticed it, you'll understand this comment, but my horse is rather relaxed, so you'll have to forgive him. He doesn't have performance anxiety, so be more like a horse. Be in the moment, be cool with who you are. So we're going to get to the turnarounds here. Oh, man. So Luke is going to start with the hindquarters, maintaining lateral flexion and softness off the rein. All this is communication. Luke is asking a question. He's offering a feel down. That looks good. Open the door. Look where you're going, Luke. Look where you're going. Now get out of the way because that's a pretty turn. Why are you still in the way? Wait. No, your hand. I told you to get out of the way and you were there for 4 more seconds. Okay, so this is exactly what I wanted Luke to do. This is the timing. This is reinforcing the behavior. For you guys, you'll laugh because it'll be really obvious to you watching. But remember this, because when you're in the moment doing this, you're no different. The same thing's going to happen. You're going to be late. The whole time we need to observe our horse and try and get more and more accurate. Why? Because of what I talked about earlier. It's the release of pressure, not the application of pressure that teaches the horse. So when he gets balanced in the right position, moving the way you'd like, we need to be decreasing the amount of pressure we have in our body, the energy. That rewards that behavior, and the horse will continue doing it. That's what I was talking to about Luke when I said you're late. The horse turned around nicely, and I said, all right, that's good. And Luke kind of kept his hand there. He didn't think he did, but he did. So, well, you needed to release altogether. Because he did a pretty turnaround and stayed on a pivot foot all the way around, and you were kind of still there. So I guess what I wasn't explaining that Luke just brought up is, why do we quit? Well, don't go through good to get to worse, which is what Luke was going to do there. The horse was turning around beautifully, and I know that Luke hasn't turned that horse around like that too many times, so I wanted him to reward the behavior before the horse fell out of the turn. That's going through good to get to worse. So many times people be riding a horse, and the horse will be trying his guts out and get really good, and since we're so goal-orientated and we have an ego and we're not in the moment, we get so focused on what we want that we miss the horse changing and improving. So when we see him changing and improving, we need to recognize it. When you start doing that, you'll be amazed at what a horse will do for you, because I talk about this all the time, but he knows that you know. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, it's like if you have a partner or someone you're close with, they know when you're doing good and when you're not, because they know you, right? And you appreciate that. You value that. You trust them more for that. Same thing with your horse, even more so. He's more sensitive, and when he gets scared, he gets upset, he's not just acting up. He legitimately thinks he's going to die. So it's very, very important that you notice these things. And even in a turnaround, you see that he's doing good and you reward it and you say, yeah, man, that's good. And he goes, right on, Luke, I'm doing good. I like that. And he's going to stick his chest out and he's going to try harder, which is what we want at the end of the day. So maybe come out here in the center a little bit more and let's work on your turnaround the other way and let's see it just as beautiful as you did last time. I think my horse is just trying to let your stud horse know what's up. Now open the door, look where you're headed, over your shoulder. There it comes, wait. Wait. Now, this is what I wanted to show you guys. See how the horse is kind of going in and out of the turn. Luke is going to wait until the turn gets nice, and he's not going to do a whole lot with his outside rein. Because if he does, it's going to tip that horse's nose the opposite direction of what we want. So now Luke is going to wait till these feet come through. More energy, Luke. Energy, 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 energy. Come on, energy in your legs. Less. Energy, you need to get it there. Less. You're a little late. Energy. So what I'm trying to get Luke to do here is when the horse is not turning, he needs to be doing more with his legs, not with his hands. And then when the horse starts thinking about isolating the front end, he's going to relax the legs. Here comes a change. That's all right. That was acceptable. So let's wait. Give him a second. Okay, see, he went right. He wanted to go right back to that other side. He wasn't going to give the horse a chance. We need to give him a chance to think about this. So now Luke's going to go right back down that left rein and go right to the turn. Hand out, look where you're going. Maybe tip that weight back just a little bit with your right hand. Just try and ever so slightly influence it and then release it. And wait for the feet and release. All right, a little bit better. Let's keep working on that. This is a great example of what you guys might run into with your turnaround. Start your turn. So when Luke comes across the front here, I'm going to help him shift. Feel the weight shift right there? Hopefully you guys can see this, but now see how the horse's weight is immediately more so over his hocks? Now Luke, when you come across this time, get out of the way. There. Good. So see what we did? This is something you could do with a friend or a trainer if you have one to help you get this behavior. Notice when we complete, the horse shakes, the horse works his mouth. That's all recognition of understanding. That's releasing hormones in the horse's body that cause relaxation and understanding. That's what I talk about when I talk about the difference between training and understanding. When you present understanding, you don't have to do it over and over and over again because the horse, he starts to get the idea. All right, let's start on that left side again and see if we can't shape that turn up. And now this time just look through your turn and just try and feel those feet and direct them through the turn. What do you need? Which direction are you headed right now, Luke? No, tell me, where is your horse, forwards or backwards?
Oh, he's forward.
And now he's backwards. Okay, what do you need to be doing when he's either backwards or forwards?
Release.
No. You release for balance, not for forwards or backwards. You release for the center. See, that was better. Okay, so this is where the horsemanship part is tricky because it depends. Our goal is the turn, right? And that's what Luke was thinking about. But some things came up. The horse was going backwards and forwards. To do this turn that I was showing you guys, it is neither backwards nor forwards. And this is why a lot of people don't do this turn, because they can't. Because they can't. They try too hard and they try and do it versus letting the horse do it. We want him to stay in place and stay balanced. So if he's forwards or backwards, we should be doing just a little bit more with our legs. And then when we feel him come to that a little more centered, it doesn't even have to be perfectly centered, but we feel him come a little closer to the center, we soften our legs up. It doesn't mean they don't get loud again as soon as he gets too far forward or too far backwards. But the mistake that you will make is doing more with the rein. That's how you get a horse heavy. It's not more with the rein. It's more with the legs. When the rein is over here and you've got the flexion, you've already done all you can do with the rein. You pulling on it anymore is not going to do you any more good. You've got to get the feet working. That's where the legs come in. When I'm telling Luke to do more, I'm trying to get him to use his legs to stimulate a direction change, either frontwards or backwards. So let's try that again. Does that make more sense, Luke?
Yeah, so if you need to get him back, maybe use the right rein.
Or, what did we just talk about? Use your legs if you can.
To get him back.
Yeah. If he's forwards or backwards, use your legs a little bit more. If he's backwards and you use your legs, what's going to happen? What's going to happen?
Go forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah, it's a teeter-totter. You're just trying to do what I'm doing with my horse here. See how my horse is going forwards and backwards, but his feet aren't even moving? You're just shifting the weight in the horse. And so many times we don't actually take the time to get the horse to get out of the way. That's what I'm talking about. See, you just turned that thing around real nice and kept a pivot foot. But the horse can do this at any moment. The human just has to get in the right position. So I hope you guys are starting to see this, that no matter what style of horsemanship you do, whether you're jumping or running or rodeoing or working or just checking the mail, if we pay attention to our horse and instead of making excuses and saying, oh, our horse is this or that, or oh, he got a rough start or this and that, and we just pay attention to what he's telling us and we pay attention to what we're doing, oh man, can we get some changes, and gosh, is it fun. Because like in anything in life, it's not all the good stuff, it's not easy. You ought to struggle a little bit, because then when you actually make it, it's much more rewarding. If it was easy and you just did it, you get bored in 2 days, and I think all of you know that. We've had lots of questions, and I think a great way to demonstrate pressure and release, getting your horse to search, is this bridge. Luke's horse hasn't crossed any obstacles yet, so what we're going to do is show you. Why is something like this important? Well, if you go anywhere, you're going to encounter something that scares your horse. He's going to say, I'm scared. What's going to keep him from flighting, running off? Well, that's your body, your legs. Him respecting that. You say, that tarp or that bag or that mud puddle, don't worry about that, I got your back. That's what we're teaching him with this. You just see a guy trying to get a horse across a bridge, but what we're trying to teach is confidence in Luke's leg aids. So without further ado, we're going to start on that. And we're going to just see what Luke's horse offers us up. He's going to have his hands kind of prepared to block there, and he's going to relax. As soon as his horse attempts to step on this, he's going to relax his legs. The key to Luke getting across this barrier is how straight can he keep his horse. When his horse looks to the right, can Luke block it? He just did too much there. So Luke will straighten him back up. Legs, 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 legs. Come on, energy until you get back to the bridge. Peace at the bridge. Peace. Relax. Just relax. Now see, Luke was doing quite a bit. Now let's see what this young horse does. He might even just step up there on his own. Look at this. Look at this. See, he's thinking about it. Straighten him out. You should be keeping him straight. Now, as soon as he's straight, you'll start with your legs ever so slightly. Ever so slightly. There. You were late. Be quicker. There. There. You shook your leg one more time after I said there. There means stop. See, this is how important timing is, guys. Okay, legs. Legs. There. Pet him. See what happened when you quit with your stinking hands? See, you're doing too much. Now, I hope this is an example to you guys of how sensitive the horse actually is. So many times when we have an issue with our horse, it's not our horse, it's us. So as you noticed, when Luke kind of got things in order, the horse got in order. So that's all we wanted to show you with that. A little project, something that I know every horse person encounters is some kind of stimulus which scares their horse. And this is how you can work through it. And all the while, gaining more respect with your horse and a little bit more rapport. What we're about to cover is we're going to get Luke's young horse over this bridge here. He's going to kind of approach this bridge, and then we're going to talk you through it. Luke's goal is to not do too much. The biggest thing he needs to do is keep this horse straight, which you can see he's already, struggling with right there because he was late. That's the only reason the horse got crooked. But that's where we all are. We have the skill that we have, and we're working on it. So now, Luke is just going to slow down, not do so much with his legs, and see what happens when he quits with his legs. He has a little more control of the feet. Now, why are we doing this? Well, this is like a puddle that might scare your horse, or a tarp, or some kind of debris. What we're doing is the horse is saying, I don't know if I can make it. And Luke is saying, I got you, buddy. Give him a pat, Luke. There you go. So what he's doing is teaching the horse when there's outside stimulus, when he gets a little bit scared, don't worry. Luke's got you. Between his hands and his legs, he's going to support you and we're going to make it through. That's why I like little obstacles like tarps, bags, ropes, logs, all because these are barriers. Horses work off pressure. Now, I want you guys to watch and critically observe what Luke is doing here. He knows last time he had a hard time with those hindquarters popping out, and he knows he's crooked right now. Let's see what he does to change it. Maybe if he just sits tight for a second, it would help him, but he did too much. So we'll start again. Hustle, 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 hustle. See, you just gave him a big reward when he wasn't trying to get up there. That's your timing part. Energy, energy, less. Now relax, relax, Luke. Good, good. Now just pet him. Good. Now, see how straight that horse got when Luke wasn't doing a whole lot? Pretty straight. Yeah. But this is why I have Luke here, because he does ride a lot, and he's rode a lot of horses. But if you're not doing it every day, you have to really, really watch yourself to make sure your body is doing what your mind is telling you it's doing. Because I even have a hard time with that. Sometimes I think I said something, and everybody's like, well, you didn't do a very good job explaining that. And I'm like, well, it made sense to me. So we have to do the same thing with our horse. We have to really evaluate that. So now Luke is just going to try and ride forward. Don't move your hands. You started off moving your hands, and he was straight. Good. We're just trying to get these back feet to... Quit! Okay, you were 2 strokes too late again. As soon as those feet move, you slack up. Straight, straight, good. Start again. See, baby steps. See, sometimes we think we just ought to get all the way up there, but we just want to reward the effort here. Go, 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 go. There, there. Oh, he was going to step up there with that back leg. Now start again. Good. Legs, 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 less. There. Do you feel the change in his balance? That was the timing of the pressure and release right there. That was a good thing to get on video. Now, we're going to let Luke's horse take a break. If Luke would have not applied the appropriate amount of pressure there and maintained it, the horse would have come off laterally, off the side. But what he did was, instead of doing a whole bunch with his hands, he increased the pressure, and when the horse shifted his weight to the horse's left, Luke released, which in turn got him straighter without our reins and hands. This comes to the opening your mind part. Everybody thinks we got to pull them around and bang on them, when really all our legs and hands are trying to influence their mind. It's not so much a physical maneuver. You can get a horse to do all sorts of things. Like if I want him to lower his head, I can have him lower his head just like that by just touching him on the neck and see what happens. But I didn't pull his head down. You can do that with a lead change, with a turnaround, with getting on the bridge. But you have to pay attention to when the mind changes due to the influence of pressure. So with that said, carry on. Good, good, good. See, you should have rewarded that. The weight shifted forward. Now it's back. You better go forward. Forward, forward, less. Yes, pet, pet, pet. We got our horse on the bridge. That's what we wanted to show you. I really hope you watch this forwards and backwards. You might see it and just think it's getting on a bridge, but if you critically analyze this and try and understand the pressure and release used, oh my gosh, will it advance your horsemanship by leaps and bounds. I'm going to show you a little bit on the Pro Cutter with a horse that's been worked on it some. I haven't had this Pro Cutter for a very long time. But what I'm going to show you, and what I think a lot of people miss, is when I post little clips of these young horses working this video, what I'm trying to show you is that you can get them to want to work it without dragging them through. All these horses I'm riding are for other people. They're not for me. So I need the horse to handle his own business and work this flag. I don't need to be steering him and doing all that. Because whoever I sell the horse to, well, they might not be that practiced at that. So I need the horse to handle it. But what we're going to do is I'm going to show you on a horse that's done it a little bit, and then here after lunchtime, we're going to show you on one of Luke's horses how I will teach the first application of the Pro Cutter. But I'm going to go ahead and turn it on and work it here. And what I want you to see is I'm trying to influence the horse's enthusiasm to be with the flag. If his movement gets out of whack too much, I'll change it. But otherwise, I'm going to let him work the flag and handle it, because that's what we need. We need the horse to work the cow, and that's what this is representative of. So we're going to get started here. I like to kind of just start with my horse looking at the flag here. See, he's already getting kind of ready. And then I'm just going to offer him up this flag, and I'll stop it, and you notice he rates pretty nice there. Good. He's a little late, so I'll use a little bit more leg, and then I'll stop him. And then this is something I really like to do with my horses here. I'll ease him up to the flag. I'll ease him up to the flag, and then I'll stop. Good. See, I shut it down and he rated. I didn't have to stop him. Good. So see, as you can see, as we start to dial the energy up, the horse is really trying to work to be with the flag. Now, things I would like to improve upon. See how my horse isn't completely straight? Now when we stop here, I'm going to push the hindquarters in. I'm going to straighten him up. But I'm also going to allow him peace right here with this flag, because this is why he chases the flag. The whole point is, when he's late, he's not with the flag, my feet are active. When he gets right here where I want him to be, focused on the flag, then we get out of the way. So that way, he knows being with the flag is peaceful. It's the same thing we're doing with the herd bound. Your horse is herd bound because he can't find peace with you. He finds peace with his friends. That's all it is. So what we're trying to do is show him, hey, you get with this cow, you're all good. You're away from this cow, you're going to be busy. We're not going to make you go with the cow. We're going to give you the option, and it's up to you to do it. So we'll work him one more time here. Good, and he clicked right on. Good. So I'll take it forwards and backwards. If my horse gets to where he's not waiting, there, he got a little bit behind, but see, I didn't have to drag him across. I just did more with my leg. And I'm kind of challenging him on this flag right here to show you some things where you can kind of improve his behavior. If my horse is looking off to this side, I'll just turn this flag on and make him pursue the flag. That's where I want his focus. Oh, much better. Better. There we go. So that's kind of how I would start with a flag on a younger horse. Is I'll let them, whenever they're with this flag, I'll make sure I'm out of the way. When they're away from the flag, not addressing it, I'm going to be working on something. What you'll see when we start working with the horse that hasn't worked the flag is we might be out here quite a bit, working our horse, working on softness, working on moving the feet. And then when he feels nice, we'll point him at the flag and allow him to find peace here before we ever even start moving it. That's all we're trying to set up, is that when the horse is with the flag, it's a good place to be. Because that's what we want, is we want him to watch the flag. there's a gentleman on there that said he has a horse that pulls back and kind of blows up, and it gets pretty hairy and it's pretty rough before he has a chance to get there. And this is a problem that a lot of people have. And what I would say is sometimes people will work on it and they'll tie a horse up and they will stimulate the behavior until the horse no longer does it. And you can do that, but with that there is a rather large risk. There's the risk of the horse hurting himself, whether he breaks his neck or strains himself, and that may cripple him. So if you do that, you got to realize there's a risk associated with that. And also, if the halter were to break and he flips over on you, there's all that. So how I like to work on it personally is I like to get them real good and fluid on the ground. And then once I really understand that they're smooth, then I'll start tying them up. And what do I mean by understand that they're smooth? Well, that's what I'll show you. So you can do this with a halter on. You don't have to do it with a snaffle bit, but I'm going to ride here in a second, so that's how I'm going to show you. What you might do with a horse that's really awful, before I get ahead of myself, is you might just do this. Just getting them to come forward without their head going way up in the air like a giraffe might be quite a feat for you guys at first with horses like this. You might just see if you can get these feet to just come forward. Once you have that, the next step might be rock your horse back and then bring him forward. And if you notice, my horse hung his foot in the air. That's what you want in game. And when I tell people I'm very confident that you couldn't make my horse pull back, that's what I mean. And if you study that, and then even better yet, if you try and do it yourself, you will find it's quite difficult to achieve. And once you do kind of get that work, and your horse will have a very good level of understanding. And what we're changing is we're getting the horse to become rational versus reactive. Because what happens when he gets to pulling back is he thinks he's going to die. And you go, okay, Tristan, that makes sense. No, he thinks he's going to die. I found that many people, especially in today's society, have never been in a position in which their life was actually threatened. That is a very big deal. The horse isn't trying to be bad. He literally fears for his life. And if you've ever felt that way, it's not a good feeling and it's not very comfortable. So try and keep that in mind when you're working on this. Your horse isn't being bad. He's really kind of crying for your help. And so many times we misinterpret that. So you'll just work at it and you'll kind of bring them back. And then you'll bring them forward, and then you'll bring them back. And the whole time, and you know, when you're doing this, your horse might raise his head and things like that. And I don't know what my good friend Luke's horse is going to do here, but we're going to have him work at that and see if anything comes up that I can help him with and maybe give you some perspective. Because I work with that on all of my horses, client horses or horses that we sell. Because I believe that a horse that you can't tie hard and leave overnight or leave for however long, he's not broke, he's not safe, because I got to be able to take him places, and sometimes I got to get off and I got to tie them to a twig or not tie them at all, and they have to stay. And you can get them to do that, but you've got to teach it. You can't just expect it to happen. So really try and use that little bit and go through those few things I said and work on it at your own pace. And if the leading forward is too much, you might just work on this. You might just see if you can't get him to put his nose down. And you won't do like I just did. You won't do it all at once. Gosh, you might put a little weight on that, and that horse might kind of go like this and work against you. The key to getting this done is don't do too much. If you put too much pressure on here too fast, you'll cause the horse to retract, and his head will go up and he'll pull against you. So make sure when you do this, you just kind of put your hand on there and offer a feel, and you might release for that, and then you might start again. And then if you want to advance it, you might ask him to lead forward. See there, he just shifted his weight forward and I released. And there, now we might see if we can get a step here. There, and the head will stay down. If you can do those things, you have a horse that's pretty trustworthy to tie up. And I do all of that before I ever tie a horse. And I think that's where the accidents happen a lot, is people won't prepare the horse and they'll tie him up and they'll have a mess, and then it takes a little bit of skill and some confidence to get out of it. Because let's be honest, a horse that panics and pulls back, it's dangerous. They're quite a lot larger than we are. So be careful when you're approaching it. So Luke's going to kind of take him back, and let's see what he's got here. Good. So you guys can kind of already see the difference from his horse to my horse. And his horse isn't bad. But you see, when he leads him forward, his head comes up, and a little bit of that is the timing with Luke too. He's just a little late reaching that foot forward. Okay, Luke, so let's stop and just take your reins off your horn and see if you can't get him to lower his head to the ground. So see, Luke was running into some spots that I'll call adhesions, sticky spots, where there's resistance. Some people call it a brace. All this will kind of work that out, because what we're asking him to do here is to relax, to turn loose. And so Luke's kind of got that working pretty good. Now see if you can't lead him forward a step with his nose down. Now, do you think there's a way you could take a hold of that rein in which you would be prepared for whatever happened? There you go. If you notice kind of the way that Luke grabbed that, like he did grab it, but if something were to happen, there's no way he could control that. He would, if the horse were to react, he would have no choice but to release and therefore reinforce the poor behavior. So you've got to be aware of that. But all right, let's go work on the forwards and backwards again, see if that shapes up. You need to think one step sooner, Luke. You need to start thinking about coming ahead. There you go.
Like, notice his head comes down and kind of, or comes up.
Yep, just a little smoother. There you go. Better. See? I hope you guys note the change there. Okay, now go ahead and take him back there, Luke. Just go back a little ways till you like it, till he just feels real nice. Slower. Take the energy out of your body. There you see, notice the difference in cadence? Now, forward ever so slightly. See the change? See how the horse reached through his body more? And that's just how we're approaching it. So let's work on that a little bit. Maybe hit the other side, huh? Good. And you got to remember, you got to work both sides of them here. Good. Now just ever so slightly forward. See, we found a spot. See, that's a pullback. That right there is a pullback. And this horse is broken, been tied a lot. And I've never met a horse that pulls back that can do that transition smoothly. And I've worked with some that are rather nasty at that. So if you can get that good, you can fix that spot without ever jeopardizing your horse tying them up. Oh, I like that, Luke. So, all right. This is where things get a little deeper. Luke is doing all the right things, but the time of which he's doing them is not spot on. He's trying to move the feet when they're weighted. What I'm trying to get Luke to understand, but I have not yet articulated to him, is he needs to move that foot forward when it's about to leave the ground. That's why I can hang one in the air, is because I'm moving it as it's leaving. If you try and direct a foot when it's on the ground, it's going to be heavy. You're going to find resistance in the head and in the rest of the body. So you need to direct it as it's going to move during swing phase of the stride. And then you can move it wherever you like, forwards, backwards, out, or in. So try that, Luke. Does that make sense? Hang in there. Hang in there. Good. Okay, now let's fix what you're covering up. What did you just cover up? No, before that. In the back up. Why don't you back an arc? Why don't you just do you a circle right there and just get it nice and smooth. Nice and smooth. Slow your body down. You're kind of stiff. There you go. Good, you got those feet reaching. Now just ever so slightly, ask him forward. Go with the flow. Better. See, the head came up, but the feet came way faster, huh? Now let's just lead him forward with our hand a little bit. See that how his old head come up? You got to do less. You're doing too much. If you do too much, it'll give the horse something to pull on. Now ever so slightly forward, sir. Good. Now back. Just get him on that teeter. See, when the hindquarters roll, that's because of you. Now forward, it's going to be, there we go. Now let's give him a little break, huh? There's an elasticity in the horse's mind that is very hard for the human to understand. And I'm not going to go into all of it because it would bore you and you probably wouldn't watch the whole thing. But you can do a certain type of stimulus with a horse and it can mean multiple things and it will not confuse him, because their brain doesn't work quite like ours. It's the same reason you can be a jerk to your horse and he'll still meet you at the gate. I don't know any humans that way. That as long as you get right, they'll still show up with a positive attitude. And that's just because their brain works a little different. So what I'm going to show you is an application of pressure and release, which you won't even associate to the action that I'm about to get. I'm going to show you, if you just put your hands here ever so slightly, the horse will lower his head. Yet I'm not pushing on his head, you see. So you've got to get your mind out of that frame that it has to be here, it has to be there for the horse to understand it. Yet I could put my hand here and get the same action. It's an understanding from the horse of, I ask a question, right? The simplest of questions. I apply pressure. He searches for a solution. He moves away from the pressure and I release. So I'm going to go ahead and crawl on my horse. Luke, is yours ready to hop on? And Luke and I are going to demonstrate what I just showed you, another application of pressure, which you might use in several different ways, and we'll show you how the horse can understand. The biggest part for you is going to be wrapping your mind around this, that one stimulus can mean multiple things to the horse. This is something that I really work on, and the reason I work on it is I sell horses for other people. And I get pretty creative, especially when I'm stuck in the arena all winter. But the biggest thing is I got to get these horses to where they can rationalize things that I didn't show them. Because no matter what, I'm not going to be able to show them everything they're ever going to encounter in a year. So I have to show them how to mitigate and deal with stimulus as it comes up. And the exercise I'm about to show you will help you greatly with that. What it will do is it will show your horse that you're willing to wait on him and allow him the opportunity to figure things out. And I don't know if you guys have ever struggled in your life or anything like that, but sometimes all we need is somebody to just wait for a minute and give us a chance. So what I've done is I've put my horse in flexion. You notice he's standing still. This is something I teach my horses, but what I'm waiting for is for him to move his hindquarters. You just notice my horse shifted his weight. If I wasn't showing you this, I would have released for that. And if you can notice that when you're doing it, release for the slightest weight change. But what I'm waiting for is the hind feet to come through and roll just like there was the weight shift again and the feet almost came. So I'll just wait. No legs, no pressure. You're sitting here relaxed. And the part that makes this complicated for people is I will do this and ask my horse to roll his hindquarters, and I will do this, and I'll ask him to do just what he's doing here, to stand stationary. And the horse can understand both of those things. But you have to allow him to search for it. So what you might do with your horse is, at first, you might work pretty hard at getting this, to where he'll stand here with flexion and not move his feet. And then when I had to release for that. I was going to wait for his feet to move, but I had to reward that behavior because he tried a couple times. But you'll get your horse to where you take the flexion and he waits. Once you get that to where you come down this rein, you get flexion and the feet don't move, then you can move to this technique where you maintain the flexion and then you wait as long as it takes. This isn't about force. This is about rerouting the mind on a prey animal to where he's no longer panicking, he's thinking. So we're just going to hold this rein and wait till the feet come in. And your horse might try that, but then his feet might move and you'll release. And now, since his feet are moving, I'll start again and wait for the feet to stop and release. So you see, within seconds, I just got 2 different behaviors with the same stimulus. And now he knows. And now let's just say I don't even tighten my legs. I just change the expression in my body and the feet come alive. But to do that, you got to realize this is a game of subtlety. And you got to be pretty accountable of yourself. And that's a hard thing to do. But we'll let Luke work at it so you can get a different perspective here. So what are you going to do here? Are you going to wait for the feet, or you just want them to stand still? Okay, so Luke's waiting for the feet to roll through. There they come. Good. Now, we're going to have Luke go down that same rein, except have the horse stay stationary. Go ahead and release. Now, on the same side, we're going to have Luke go down that rein and wait for the feet to move. And let's see how long it takes. No legs, no tightness, just thinking. You see, the horse can understand that feel that he presented. He just moved his feet. He's going to try again because he didn't get rewarded for that. Good. So you can, hopefully you can kind of see the plasticity in the horse's mind with that. And that might take quite a bit of time before you can actually understand what it's doing. But like I was showing you with the neck, and like I talked about with the ball, we have to make sure when we're teaching a movement, an application, an approach, that we're not making what we want so hard for the horse to do. The key to that is just getting out of the way when the horse gets there. And to be able to do that, you can't be forcing him up to it. It's got to be his idea. And that's really what we're trying to touch on here. So I hope that helps you guys break down some pressure and things like that and gives you a little different perspective on the horse's ability to search and how it can help you in everyday work. In my opinion, I would prefer forward motion. A lot of issues you'll see with people, including bucking and rearing, is when people are doing too much softness and trying to create energy at the same time. Energy is forward motion, and that's what I'm trying to say. So I need my horses to have forward motion, and then you direct the energy. If you're trying to get softness right off the bat, like flexion, and then move the hindquarters across and the horse doesn't know anything yet, you're asking for 2 things. You're asking for softness and energy. 2 is more than 1. So in the beginning, what comes first for me is energy, direction, forward movement. And then I can kind of capitalize on it and direct it. I'm going to have Luke show you that. We'll kind of see what comes up with it here. His horse has been sitting. That's why I'm asking him to do this here. So go ahead and turn your horse around, just from right there. Look where you're going. There you go. Now the other way. Good. So there, Luke's horse did it. He did a nice job with it. So he got energy and direction at the same time. But now what I'm going to have Luke do, and I want you to see if you can notice a difference in fluidity on this. I'm going to have Luke take a left-hand turn, kind of walk down along the arena here, and then roll the hindquarters and bring the front across. And I want you to study the cadence of which the horse does it. And you for yourself take note of whether it was improved or not from how we started there. The reason I say this is we're talking about the basics, the beginning, when a horse is getting started. How do you influence them to move the most appropriately? So kind of watch this as Luke does it, and let's see if it's any different. Gosh, your horse sure turns around nice, mister. So now he's going to go into rolling the hindquarters. And then just bring the front across and look where you're going. There, good, now quit. Now, I know at least I could see the energy difference, but hopefully you can too. And what I'm trying to show you is when you're on a young horse, you got to get the feet moving first, because where the argument comes in is when you get too much flexion in them and you try and shove the feet forward. The horse feels like he can't move, gets claustrophobic, heart rate increases, respiration increases. Next thing you know, you're in the sympathetic nervous system and you're picking sand out of your ears. So try and avoid that. Okay, so Luke asked me where the difference was in the horse, and I was talking about the energy. So what we were talking about is directing the energy and making it at the same time. What I had Luke do was I had Luke do a turnaround from the standstill like this. And then I had him, get on through here, buddy. And then I had him go forward. So now we have energy, right? There, what I did was I asked for flexion and I created energy in the flexion. Here, I have energy. Now I'm simply directing it. My legs are doing nothing, right? When my hindquarters feel nice, I'm going to bring the front through and watch the difference in my horse's cadence. It's quite a bit smoother, quite a bit quicker. And that's kind of what I was trying to show you. If you allow the horse to go forward, for instance, if I were going to try and reach this foot there, if you're not experienced, you better have dang good timing and know where the weight is. But an easier way to do that, and how I'll work with somebody who's learning, I'll allow the horse to go forward and then reach, 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 reach the foot as it's going. And it's easier to move because you're directing it as it's going through the air, versus having to know that that's the right foot, that's the left foot, that's the right foot, that's the left foot, reach the right foot. So I'm trying to take the steps out of it so people who don't do it as much can kind of go through there and get it a little bit smoother with their horse. Because oftentimes, if you try and generate impulsion and flexion at the same time, your horse will get bogged down, he'll swish his tail, he'll pull against you, and he won't move very enthusiastically because he feels like you're blocking what you're asking for. He feels like that flexion is blocking the energy. Luke says that makes sense. I don't know if it makes sense to you, but I hope it helps. My lovely assistant, the one and only Merle, he's a coming 4-year-old gelding. We have from Malstead quarter horses. He's one of 5 or 6 horses I've started from those guys. Really, really nice temperament. If you're looking for kind of a foundation quarter horse, that could go into the show pen and things like that. They have some great ones. And every horse I've ridden in this clinic today is for sale, but Merle is one of the young men we have coming up for sale. Just a real well-rounded fellow. And we're just getting started riding. And I just like to show you a few things that I like to get good on a young horse that I just think is kind of pertinent for a horse if he's going to be considered safe. Like they should kind of be good about a flag and kind of stuff around them, and you should be able to work this and not have to hang on to the horse. For those of you looking to purchase a horse, whether it's one of mine or not, if a person kind of can't do this and the horse stay good, I'd be careful about how much I pay for them. So, but with that said, we're going to kind of cruise around here and warm our horses up since we just got on. Luke's going to kind of warm his up, and we're going to go over some lateral and longitudinal flexion at the trot, and then we're going to work our way into the lope. I know Luke's been working with getting this horse collected at the lope. The reason we do that is we can do our lead changes from there, we can do our hard stops from there, we can do our rollbacks once we have collection. The reason I like to do these maneuvers with collection is when you ask your horse, to get soft here, my horse is not only getting soft through his face and his neck, it's in his back. He's lifting his back up and driving with his hind feet, for that's where the power comes from in the horse. You see, when he goes to leave there, he leaves with his hind feet. When he stops, he also stops with his hind feet. So when I'll tip ahead here, you'll see where the power's generated. So when you're working your soft feel, although it may be your natural inclination to just focus on the head, try and visualize these hind feet. Are the hind feet driving up and under? And what Luke and I are going to work on is just a little bit further along from what we were working on earlier. We were working on getting our horses soft off of the inside rein at the walk. Now we're going to move on and work on it at the trot. We want the horse to get soft through his neck, and once we acquire that softness, we would like him to also get soft longitudinally. And you'll do that intermittently with your horse. And I'll stop here and we'll see what Luke's is looking like. There you go. Now see if you can't carry it around us here for a full circle. There you go. That's starting to get better. And what Luke's doing is, when he feels that horse is a little heavy on his hands, he uses just a little bit more leg. And he's just coming in and out with his leg aids. A little more pressure, a little bit less pressure. Now maybe try and reach that left hind leg under there a little bit more. Get a little more lateral flexion. There you go. And now, whenever you get ready, come through on a straight line, stop him and roll him back over his hocks and head the other direction. That's the way. There you go. Right back to the soft feel. So see, that horse there was telling Luke, hey dude, you better keep riding, because if you're not, I'm going to stop. That's a good problem to have. That's a horse who's paying attention to the rider. All right, you notice there, this will be something you'll have with your young horse. A little bit of resistance. What you don't do when you have that little bit of resistance is you don't pull harder, you wait. If you pull harder, the horse is going to push. So like Luke's doing, he's waiting, and now his horse has a real nice, pretty headset. And now he's going to wait. I bet he feels that tongue kind of pulling against that bit. He's going to wait till it gets soft, and then release. And now he's going to go to an extended trot and just let this horse travel around here. Good. Good. Now get him straight and quit riding. Yeah, buddy. Cool. That's good. See, that horse was really, really reading and rating off his body. Now, maybe you struggle with that at the trot. Maybe you struggle with it at the walk. Well, maybe we can give you another tool to work on it. If all that's a little tough, maybe we'll work on our softness and control the feet going backwards. I'm going to back and arc. My right leg is going to slightly tip back. I'm going to influence the flexion with my right hand. I want the horse looking through the maneuver here. He's a little worried about these signs over here as I haven't ridden him there. I'm going to wait till he gets nice and pretty here. I want the outside hind foot, the left hind foot reaching out and back while maintaining softness. There, that's quite a bit better. So you can work on this quite a few different ways. And just like we were working earlier, like see there my horse is pushing a little bit. He says, you're backing me right to that flag. And I'll say, yeah, that's all right. So I'll take him straight. Right now my left leg is slowly tightening. It's moving those hindquarters over. If you'll note, the right hind leg is reaching out and back. When my horse pushes into my hand, I do not pull harder. I do not slip slack. I simply maintain pressure until he gets soft. Now, to advance that, the next step would be you could take the horse backwards, just like we were working on the ground earlier. Then you can take him forwards. And there should not be a sticky spot here. This is how I would teach the stop on a young horse. I would take him forward. I would have my feel. I've got a feel of him, and then I'd slow the feet down. And I'd take them back. And I'd do it gradual. And then eventually, you can roll it up to where it's quite a bit quicker into the trot, and he doesn't get sticky. And then next thing you know, you could take him through at the lope. We'll see what old Merle says here about that. So what I'm trying to show you by doing this, why it's so important, is you can get much more power out of your horse from this position. But to do that, he has to do what Luke's horse did just a second ago when he stopped. He has to be straight. You're going to find a lot of problems. You're going to say, I can't get this soft feel thing. And it's not going to be because you can't get the soft feel. It's because you don't have control of the body to straighten it out. And when the horse is not straight, with every increment that he's crooked, it gets exponentially harder for him to be soft. Does that make sense, Luke? So what I like to do is I'll just kind of go around here. Like right now, I'm thinking about the left hind leg. Now, I might move the shoulder over a little bit. Good, all that worked. So when you're cruising around here, you're just checking, if I take the life out, yeah, if I take the life out of my body, he shuts down. Now let's see if we can't launch him out of here. Let's just see what Merle thinks. Good, on the left lead, which is what we want. And don't worry about that too much when you get started. For if you want to know what foot he's going to canter depart on, you kind of got to know where his weight is. So that'll just take some practicing to get used to it. And what I like to do is when I'm loping my circles, I'll get a couple steps and then I'll let them go. The issue that we have, it's so many times people try and carry that soft feel, carry it. That's good, but what they don't notice is that's not the part the horse is struggling with. The part the horse is struggling with is the initial contact, you see. They'll be trying to get him soft and having heck, and they'll go around here carrying it, and he'll kind of struggle, but he's never actually learned to turn loose. So you need to be careful when you're doing this that you're not just trying to carry it. The horse is actually understanding the concept of getting soft. And for that, like with many things with the horse, we need to approach it and then back off of it and start again. It's much like what I was talking about first thing this morning with the bag. You might put the bag on the horse at the standstill. He's A-okay. He digs it. But then you might start moving. He might get upset. Same thing with a rope. When you're teaching a horse about a rope, you might be riding him. You might be swinging it, and it's all good. But then you take a couple steps, and he hops into the air with the rope. It's a different thing to him when his feet are moving like that. So we're going to have Luke work on that soft feel a little bit at the trot until he feels like he likes it. And then we're going to kick it into the lope, and we're going to study that a little bit. Because that's kind of where you're at with your horse, right? Where you'll get it, but there'll be a little resistance. So we want to kind of ease that out of there. Does that make sense how you can? With your legs a little bit, and you'll just roll them up, and you don't necessarily have to listen for me, but you'll go around here and you'll work your transitions, and all we're trying to do is get them softer and softer. And meanwhile, while Luke's going, I'm going to show you guys one more thing. I get a soft feel with this, but at the same time, I can have my horse lower his head this way. But yet, you don't see my horse going around the arena with a soft feel in his nose on the ground. That's that plasticity of the mind I was talking about. The same pressure can mean two different things. I can apply pressure like this and have him put his nose down. I can also apply pressure like this and have him bridle up. All right. Luke's going around here. You see there, he kind of took a hold. You took a hold and he kind of chucked his nose a little bit. You need to make sure you got a good grip on those reins. No more force, but you'll just wait. There, now get out of the way. Do you feel his, so when he does that, Luke, can you feel his tongue get hard? Yeah. Okay, so you guys, when you're going around and you're working that soft feel and you feel kind of like a little push, that's the horse flexing his tongue against the bit. Don't pull harder on that. It will make him retract his brain more. That's him saying, oh, buddy, I'm not sure. That's when you need to maintain the pressure and just hang in there. And as soon as it gets better, release. But do not do any more. Because if you do too much, it'll shut his brain off. So we'll watch Luke here. Now, just take some energy out of your body, Luke, and come to that nice slow trot. Keep it going. Keep it going. Don't kill it. There you go. Okay. Now, whenever you're ready, you'll do a circle to the inside with the softness and head the other direction. Ride, 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 ride. There you go. Good. See, you almost weakened a little bit, but you fixed it. You see, there's a spot there, I don't know if you guys can see it, but Luke's horse wanted to come down and Luke kind of thought about quitting, but then he brought the energy back up in his body and that helped him a lot. There you go. Now next time you like it, how's he about the soft feel into the lope, Luke? Can he maintain that yet or? Okay, when you're ready. Yep. So go ahead and grab your soft feel so you can support that shoulder when you initiate the lope. Guys, Luke just brought up a great thing that I've had, I do not know how many questions about, but it's the shoulder falling in at the lope. And Luke goes, well, he gets soft, but the shoulder kind of falls in. There, the shoulder didn't fall in at all. But what you'll do is with that soft feel, you'll use that inside rein to support the shoulder, and then the inside leg if need be. Let's see what his horse looks like here. There we go. That's starting to get a little bit better. Good. Now just stop him and head the other way. Yep. Now just look over your shoulder and go. Yeah. Okay. So I see where Luke's issue is on the shoulder falling in. It's due to a lack of impulsion. So what we're going to do is Luke's going to bring his horse to the slow trot ever so smoothly and keep it going and into the soft feel. Try and maintain the soft feel when you come down if you can. Slow trot. That's a long trot. There you go. And now, Luke, when you come right over here by the pro cutter, you're going to sit up and take him right into the lope. What we need to do to fix the shoulder coming in is improve the impulsion. The shoulder falls. See how Luke's horse has to lengthen to the trot rather than taking the lope right away? That's what we're trying to work out of there. And we'll do it gradual. We won't attack him. Okay. And now think about loping, Luke. Sit up. There. See, we got it with 2 strides less that time, huh? All right, now shut him down right there. Stop him. Over your left shoulder. Over your left shoulder. Because then he'll take the left lead and lope. Yes, cool. There we go. We got the lope shortened up quite a lot there. How'd that feel, Luke? Yeah, that was kind of cool, huh? Let's give him a break. So you see what we did was we attacked it a little different way. Luke was kind of struggling with it one way, so I was like, okay, well maybe we'll try and engage the horse's mind. That's really important for you even if like you're a horse trainer. Sometimes you're trying to put a square in a round hole and that doesn't work very well. So you need to have enough control of your emotions that you can step back and approach it from a different direction, which is what Luke just did. He was working at something and it was going all right, but we weren't getting the results we wanted. So we tried something a little bit different. And now what we're going to check out is we're going to see after his horse grabs a breath here, if we go back to our work if the horse canter departs a little bit smoother, which I reckon he will. So that'll be our feedback on whether it worked or not, whether it got better, you see. And what you did before I could say it, and notice his behavior. He's yawning, he's working his mouth, he's learning things. If you're working on your horse and you're not getting those behaviors, you need to adjust your methods a little bit, because that is how horses tell us they're understanding things. That's a cascade of hormones being released, and I don't think you can call that an unhappy horse. So very important things. While his horse is catching some air, I'm just going to kind of tool around here on mine. I want to work on this right arc, as I didn't like how I had it here a second ago. That's much better. What I'm looking for when I do this is just a fluidity. I'm not so much worried about the speed. At first, if you go slow, that's okay. What you'll find you have trouble with is this right hind leg. If you'll notice, this right hind leg is not only reaching backwards, it's also reaching out. And once you guys get this to where you like it, heck, why not blend it into a turn? Why not try and, all we're doing here, see, there's the front end came out. All we're working on here is body control. How can we influence the body? Because if we work on these things here, when we start to add speed, we'll already have a rapport. Our horse won't feel the need to get anxious, to get anxiety. And then when you're doing this too, keep it playful. Like if I'm backing slow, I might bring the front through and just spice it up a little bit. And then I might go right back to slow. And I might even see how slow can I go? And then I might hustle it up again. And then I might try my back up a different way. I might try it with my legs. Good. And then I might rock him forward. Good. And then I might rock him back. All we're trying to do is gain control of the feet, going forwards, going backwards, going left and right, and then as we advance, with lateral work, like a leg yield. But we don't start with this. That's why we're covering the straight parts. You want to get them to understand forwards, backwards, left, and right, and that when you put the horse in a little bit of a bind, he can find a way out. That's all we did with your horse. We put him in a couple different binds. We saw which one worked the best, and we worked from there, right? Does that make sense to you? Yeah? Clear as mud? Clear as mud? All right, let's try your horse again. We'll go around here whichever direction you'd like to start. Kind of start at the walk and then go to your trot. And heck, maybe even see if you can canter depart him from the walk if he feels good. What do you think? Okay, so Luke's coming around. He's getting his horse kind of livened up. Now, Luke's going to bring his horse down to the walk. Down to the walk. He's going to kind of bridle him up. And then he's just going to take off into the lope. Go. Yep. Shorter, less strides. I dig it. It wasn't a perfect canter depart, but it was a lot closer than what we had. Now come back down to the walk, to the walk, to the walk. There we go. And now just walk a circle to the inside and switch directions with power, with power. There you go. See, I want Luke to maintain that strong forward walk because that's what we're going to need to lope him out here. Now to the walk. All right, Luke. Now I want you to envision those hind feet. You're walking those hind feet up under because that's the motor. That's the power. See how your horse was getting forward there? Just you doing that. Okay, so come around here and do it for the camera and do a nice canter depart. Okay, walk, walk. Now see, Luke's thinking about these hind feet. The hind feet's where the power is. To start the left lead, okay, let's talk about that. Luke got the right lead, and there's a very, very specific reason. If you can rewind and watch that, I would advise it. When he went to lope, he sat forward, he dropped his left hand and weighted the front left shoulder, which made it very difficult for the horse to take the left lead. Do you recall? Can you feel that now that I said it? Well, no, don't drop it forward. Yeah, lift up if need be. Now ride. Left lead, canter depart, just right. Cool. So you see how important it is where you are with the horse and how it affects it. That was the best canter depart you had. But you were thinking about something different. Before you were just thinking about getting them loping. Now you were thinking about creeping those hind feet up. What foot initiates the left lead? Yes, sir. Yeah. And when you were over here, you made it hard for that back right foot to reach under when you missed the lead. And then you made the changes and you fixed it. You see? So we just got to make sure when we're asking our horses to do something, we're really facilitating that action and kind of trying to help them. Okay, so we want to work the pro cutter, right? But I'm not going to start at the pro cutter. I'm going to start working my horse over here. Because what has kind of been the theme of this video? The horse is looking for peace. So what I'll do is I'll give him some work out here. I'll let him work at some things. And I'll kind of work on my flexions and work on my hindquarters. All that stuff is good. I need to work on it anyways. And then I'm going to approach this flag and I'm going to allow my horse to wait. This is how I'll start it for the first time. And then I'll let my horse kind of see this and show him what it is. And I'll give him some reprieve, a break. And then I'll real blatantly, I'll leave the flag. And I'll go right back to work. So what I just did was I showed him, okay, he doesn't know what the flag is, but there's peace over there. You're not getting bothered. And now what I'm going to do, as I come around this corner, I'm going to have the flag leave away from me. All right, my horse waited. Turn the flag on. We're going to see. I'm not going to do anything. He made a pretty nice turn, and he stopped. Good. So now I'm going to put my hand down. Good. I'm going to step him up to this flag a little bit. He seems pretty interested. So I'm just going to kind of let him step on up here and watch this flag. Then we're going to turn it on. Good. So the big thing is you want to give them a little piece here. If you don't like that the shoulder's in, you'll fix that. You'll click it back on. There, my legs are in my horse a little because he's a little late. Good. Just right. So that'll all come as you're going through here. You don't have to work them on this too many times for them to figure out. It's not about holding them on the ball. It's about showing them that if they'll stay with this thing, you're going to let them handle their business. And the thing about a horse that we don't always capitalize on is horses, they're a pretty proud animal. They like to succeed at things, and they like to do good. And if you'll actually give them the opportunity to handle some business and do it on their own, much like us, they'll kind of show you they can do it, and they'll be proud to do it. And they'll feel like they accomplished something. That's why people talk so much about giving a horse a job. But I'll start this one more time here. We'll see what my horse does. Good. Just right. And we'll quit him on that, and I'll switch horses because that's what we need to do. So, cool. We're about to start Luke's horse on the flag. And what he's working on now is kind of what we've been talking about all day. He's putting his horse, he's putting some pressure on him right now. He's letting him do a little work. He's working his soft feel. He's working the hindquarters, and he's kind of making sure his horse is nice and soft. And when he comes around here this time, I'm going to cut this flag on. Right now I'm turning the speed down a little bit. I'm going to let him switch directions and come around the arena the other direction. My goal is, and Lenny will go ahead and focus on Luke now, but my goal here is when his horse comes, this flag is going to run away from him, you see. Because if I started that flag towards this horse, that would elicit a response that we didn't want. And now Luke's just going to quit riding. Good. And we're going to allow the horse some peace. There's a couple things going on. Luke has his horse pretty darn straight, and he has his horse about 10 feet behind the flag. When I start, this is something I like to watch. I'll stop him a little bit early. I found that horses really like to watch it. And here, I'm going to click the flag on when Luke's horse is looking at it. Luke allows his horse the chance to come through, and now he should come in with his legs. See, Luke didn't have to stop his horse there. Now we're going to head the other way. Good. Okay, so I'm going to kind of explain what I'm going to do so Luke's ready. This time I'm going to run the flag back, and I'm not going to stop it. I'm just going to take it back the other way. And here, what I want Luke to do is just turn his horse into it. I don't want him to worry about stopping. I want him to worry about being with the flag. This is where I see people make a lot of work for themselves. They're trying to make the horse go up there versus letting the horse realize if he just stays with the flag, he's good. Because then you don't have to be perfect. He'll just pursue the flag. Yeah, if he doesn't, give him a chance. And then if he doesn't, turn him slow and then hustle him on the straightaway. Don't hustle him through the turn. You'll scare him. Okay, you ready? Here we go. Forward a little. All right, take him forward. He didn't move. Good. All right, here we go. A little bit of legs till he gets right up there where you want him. Turn, turn, turn. Now quiet. Now let's see what he does. Legs, legs. Don't try and steer him so much to the flag. If he wants to leave, we'll let him leave and we'll work him. We won't try and hold him there, okay? All right, now Luke, I don't want you to do anything, okay? Don't do anything. Keep riding, keep riding. Pick up your soft feel. All right, this is exactly what I wanted to show you guys right here. This is the ticket. This is how you get it done. So now Luke is going to work his little horse. He's going to just work on stuff he needs to work on anyways. Maybe come down to the trot so you don't use him up and roll the hindquarters, but don't take the pressure off of him, okay? You just work here let's work for at least a minute. All right, and now maybe head the other direction and come work here around my horse. Oh, see, he looked at that flag coming around there. Good. Now bridle him up, and now just listen to me before you do it. You're going to bridle him up, and then you're going to offer that flag up to him at just the right time. You're going to come around here, maybe to the right, and you're going to bridle him up, and then you're going to try and let him quit right next to that flag, right? Like, now quit riding. Good. Okay, so we just fixed what the horse was telling us he needed help with. Luke was trying to say, oh, horse, I'll kind of show you and hold you here. That's all good. But I know Luke, and I know what we need to do to get this to work is I need to get the horse worried about the ball to where he wants to be there. So what we did versus making it happen, we're setting it up and letting it happen. The horse showed us that, hey, I don't know that I'm supposed to stop with the ball. So what we did is I said, hey, Luke, whenever he passes that ball, You just put a little pressure on him. You just get him a little bit more busy. And we did that until the horse improved, got a little softer. And then where did we give him peace? With the ball, right? You see, that's what I was talking about. People will try and force the horse to the cow. And that'll almost take the cow out of the horse. So we're going to start it up, and we're just going to see what the horse does. If the horse is late, Luke will come in with his legs, but he's going to give old Yellowbird a chance here. Legs, 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 peace. Peace. Carry on. As soon as he goes by it, you ought to be picking up that soft feel. The timing of that, don't do too much and get him worried. Bring him down, you're in the left lead. Up into the right lead. Up into the right lead. There you go, soft feel, keep that shoulder up. Just right. Just right. Good. Keep some pressure on him, Luke. Right now is work time. We gave him a chance to not have pressure. Okay, now make you a big circle coming around the arena, and when you get in the corner, I'm going to have that flag take off. That's all right, bring him back around. So this is actually a pretty good opportunity. We're getting all kinds of good stuff to work on, and this is some stuff you guys might run into trying to teach your horse this. This time I'm going to start the flag a little bit sooner. Now just point him at the flag. Okay, that's all right. Come back around here. Okay, let's slow things back down. Slow things back down. Now back him up and then just give him a little bit of a break right when he gets with that flag. Okay, now just turn him and face him towards the flag. Good. Okay, I'm going to bump it. Let's see what he does here. Now I'll just walk him over that way. Okay, now quit riding. All right, I'm going to bump it. Ooh, the horse left on his own that time, huh, didn't he? Yes, no? Okay, now get ready to turn him into the flag. Oh, yeah, okay. Now we're starting to get somewhere. Cool. Now rock him back. You see, not everything's perfect, but we just got our first little bit of improvement, our first little twinkle that the horse is paying attention. Look, he's working his mouth. Now he's starting to watch the ball. I'm going to wait till he's looking at it again here. Luke won't do anything. We'll just wait for the horse. Okay, he's starting to think about that ball. Now help him. And relax. Ooh, he started to downregulate a little bit, didn't he? Straighten him up again. Good. This is, now we're going to let him sit, and I'm going to kind of talk to you a little bit. This is kind of everything we could ask for, because this is kind of what you guys are going to encounter when you're introducing some new stimulus to your horse. And that's why I had my good friend Luke here, because these are all things that we have to figure out and overcome with our horse. And what you're seeing right now is just a little deviation in timing. If Luke was just a little bit earlier sometimes, it would catch on. But he's learning that as we go. And that's something all you guys are going to deal with. None of us are perfect, and it takes a lot of practice, and it takes a lot of time. So don't get discouraged. You could look at this and you could say, oh my gosh, things are going kind of awful. Yeah, well, what I'm trying to get across and what people get confused sometimes is when I'm riding my horses, and what I'm trying to get Luke to do here is I don't want him to hold the horse together. I want the horse to hold himself together. And to do that, we've got to allow him to make some mistakes. Have you ever seen a horse trainer have someone get on their horse and the person couldn't make the horse move? And then to get him to walk off, they got to cluck and use a stick and do a bunch of different stuff? That's because the person who's riding them is always holding the horse together unknowingly, because they're handy and they ride horses every day and that's what they're used to. But when you get someone on who doesn't know much, that's not going to work. And Luke has his kids ride all these horses and things like that. And sometimes he needs help with their cattle that they run. And it would be nice if we could get this horse to where if his kid just puts him on a cow, he takes care of the business. That's what we're teaching him right now. So don't be worried if people are watching and your horse doesn't look perfect. You know you're working on something. Don't worry about what everybody else thinks. It's not pertinent. Every horse, every person, we all go at our own pace. And that's the joy of this that we're getting to see right now. We're getting a problem and we're getting to solve it in real time. I didn't know it was going to go this way. The horse didn't know it was going to go this way. We're dealing with what we have in the present moment. That's what you're going to have to do. And you don't have me there. So you've got to be thinking of this because you're on your own trying to figure this out. So we got to be thinking along the lines of problem solving. We see an issue like this and we don't look at it as an impassable barrier. All the while, we're allowing Luke's horse a chance to soak with the flag. Peace with the flag. All good stuff. Okay, we're going to kick it right back on. You ready, Luke? Look at that. Okay, that doesn't look like much, but to me that looks like a lot. That's some effort. The horse turned on his own when before he was running from the flag. That's where I start to see a lot of issues, is people won't acknowledge that. That horse was just telling us he thought the flag was going to eat him. And he just said, oh, well, maybe I'll try to go with that. If we did not stop and reward that, that horse would go, well, what in the hell am I doing this for? Nobody notices. You have to notice the smallest change, the slightest try if you want to ride this way. Because otherwise, it's like when you're talking and someone talks over you. It happens to me all the time. And I usually don't say anything about it. I just kind of go along because that's who I am. But no one likes it. Same thing with your horse. He's talking, and if we just kind of get after him, we're just talking right over him. We're just interrupting him, interrupting his thought process. So what Luke is doing right now is he said, hey, man, I know that was tough for you, and I'm going to kind of acknowledge that and let you know it was a good thing. All right. You ready, Luke? We're going to take it away from you again, okay? I'm going to wait till your horse is kind of looking. He's there you go. Little legs. Oh, see, he thought about leaving, but then he made it. Turn him into it. Turn him into it. Ah. Okay, now relax, relax. You're just a little late, but did you feel that moment when you could have turned him into it? And that was different because before I had you hustle him and bridle him up. But we're just going to try something different. So that's something you could do too, is if he goes to go past that flag, turn him into it, but don't keep him there. Make sense? Just redirect that energy before it gets too fast. Okay, we're going to start again. All right, Luke, now just turn with it. We're going to go end to end a couple times and see if he gets used to that. There we go. Cool. Yeah, much better. It's getting a little quick. Good. So I moved that right away to try and relieve some of that pressure. Did he lighten up when it moved away? Good. Yeah. See, you didn't even need your hand that time. Okay, so that's an important thing. All right, now quit riding, Luke. Yeah, okay, now let's see here. Ah, you're starting to think about it, huh? There we go. Rock him back to where you want him, to where you want him. Straighten him a little, straighten him, and then give him a break. So you're going to start at different places with all your horses. You might start like this, where your horse is running from the flag, and you work from there. These are all approaches we'll take. And this is what I like, because Luke, and I know this, Luke could hold this horse together and kind of pull him through there and get it done, but that's not going to help everyone who's watching. You need to understand what you're going to encounter, because when you go to do some of this, or you go to work on crossing the bridge, or that puddle that your horse is scared of, or the big rock, it's the same thing. There's an obstacle, pressure. We want our horse to, instead of running from that, embrace it, lean into it. It's much like the world today. Everybody likes to be comfortable, okay? So you quit pushing yourself. You quit getting out of your comfort zone. What does this lead to? You guys all know, complacency, a plateau. Next thing your norm is, you don't really get out and do much anything. It's the same thing with the horse. You do it in small bits. When you start exercising and stuff, you don't go run a marathon right away. It usually doesn't work well. So don't expect your horse to do that. If he's frightened of something and he gets a little bit better, acknowledge it. Reward that behavior. And I hope that kind of gave you guys an example of this. Maybe we'll turn this flag on one more time, and then we'll give the little yellow horse a break. He's watching it pretty good, so we'll have it leave. There, he woke up. Let's see what we got here. Going to turn it. And energy, and slack the energy off. Good. So there's quite a few changes with that time too. When I turned the flag on, that was the first time the horse did not move away from the flag. And look at that. He drew through there, albeit not with a lot of impulsion, but no longer with fear. So we're going to stop, and he looked at the flag. So just rub him, and we'll cut her off right there. This is Chinook, a really nice 5-year-old gelding that I'll be taking to the Bots Sots remount sale in Sheridan, Wyoming. He'll be available at auction June 1st. Real nice horse if you're looking for a horse to go in any direction. But one thing I was going to cover before we get started is bridling. I've had a lot of people ask about the things I'm using. This on his forelock here is a Bosalita. Had to tie an extra half hitch or two in it because I used quite a bit of cowboy magic to soften his hair up today. But this is a symbol that comes from the vaqueros that symbolizes a horse that's straight up in a bridle, not in a two-rein. It's kind of a status symbol. It's like wearing your wedding ring. And then around his neck, I have a get-down rope. This yellow rope, it's about 15 foot long, 16 foot long. That's what I like. Nothing too much longer for a get-down rope. The reason we use that is it's not really appropriate to lead your horse with your bridle reins. Reason being, when you pull forward, you see on this shank, it turns this bit over in the horse's mouth, kind of putting quite a bit of pressure on his tongue and things like that. And if you go to dragging on the bridle reins, you can damage the horse's mouth. So that's why we use the get-down rope. Say we got to go through a gate, or we're doctoring cattle, we can direct him and use that just like a lead rope and not damage his mouth. Now for bridling, this is something that's super important to me. Especially if you're buying a horse and you're paying more than 10 grand for it, you better not have to wrestle to get the bridle on his head. So what I like to do is I like my horse to look for my reins. You see, when I put this, I got a little distracted there. But I'll shake my bridle at him, and I want him to be here and try and help me. I don't want him to try and be dipping and dodging me. And I'll put my reins over his head, and see how he looks for the bridle. That's what you want to look for. If you got to be way over here chasing him, that should be some warning flags for you. So then I like to have my horse come to me. I'll clear this right eye. I'll go under the chin. And then when I go to bridle them, I like to make sure they're looking just a little bit left. And then I'll just wait. No need to stick the finger in the mouth. You'll just wait, especially if a horse has made it to the bridle horse stage. You shouldn't have to ask him to open his mouth. He should know. And then you'll take the ears, you'll fold them forward. Because if you kind of take them any direction, you'll pop them and snap them, and horses don't really like that. Yes, they'll put up with it, but they kind of know you don't care if you're snapping their ears around all the time. And then I'll put my throat latch on. And several people asked about my bridle and what the silver is around here. And it's just an old vaquero style, the bridle. They call it a ferrule bridle. And it's just got a ferrule on here that's silver and the leather's rolled together. And I like it. I think it kind of dresses up the outfit and looks fancy. But those are some things I like to look for when I'm bridling my horse. And just how things sit in his mouth. I like my bit sitting in their mouth where there's no wrinkles. I think that if there's wrinkles, that's softness that I could be using. And if I can go down a rein like this and just pick up on it and my horse moves without it coming tight, I would think the same thing with the wrinkles in his mouth. That's pressure that he's always dealing with. And if you guys have watched the other videos, you've seen that pressure is a pretty important thing with your horse. So I wouldn't want to be having pressure placed upon my horse that I wasn't aware of. So that's what I like to do bridling, and some things I look for in a horse when I go to bridling. We're going to show you some leg aids. I've had a lot of questions about this, and especially on the lead changing video I just posted, people were like, oh, that's all great, but I need to know a little bit more about leg aids. And this is a pretty good chance for you to see this, because you can kind of see what the end goal is, or close to it. This horse isn't finished, but he's getting there. And then you can see a young feller who has an idea of it, but needs to do a little bit more of it. So what our goal is to be able to influence our horse with our legs, no hands, right? That's super helpful for lots of reasons. One, if you're roping and stuff, sometimes you wish you had a third arm anyways, and you don't, so it'd be nice if your legs worked. But also, if you can teach your horse just some basic maneuvers like this change in seat means back up, when you're going around here and you're using your reins and your seat, it's going to be really, really effective. Versus if you don't have one of those aids working individually, it's a little bit tougher. So especially when you get a horse in the bridle, you give up the direct rein, you see. This is the direct rein, and it doesn't mean that I don't go down that rein or you can't go down that rein. But the whole idea of a bridle horse is he works off the indirect rein. When you pick up the indirect rein, he looks away from it. If I'm going to the left, this is the indirect rein. If I'm going to the right, the opposing rein is the indirect rein. So a good way to help you with that when you relinquish the direct rein is to have your leg aids working. So kind of see how they all tie together. Now how we're going to start is with our right leg. I'll just tighten my calf up here, and you see how it influences my horse's flexion. When you're getting started, that is what you'll release for. You might not even get as much flexion as my horse just gave. You might just get a little look. Then when I say release, I mean relax your leg. Just like I was talking about in the earlier video, maybe you didn't see it, it's going to be super important. When you're sitting here, when you're not doing anything, have your legs relaxed. I ought to be able to come by and pick up on your leg and it ought to move. It shouldn't be heavy. That way, when you actually go to use your leg, your horse is like, oh, okay, yeah, he's changing some things. Versus if your legs are always stiff, it's like having the radio turned up real loud. So, if you want to get the hindquarters to roll, you'll tighten this calf, and I'm going to kind of exaggerate it for you, you see? And then when the hindquarters come through, I'll release. Now you're in a great position to see the other side. Left side, calf tightens, flexion comes, and then the feet. And then I can take my right leg forward and bring the front quarters through. You see where my right leg is directing these front quarters? That's for the front, just slightly forward. It's minute changes, it's subtleties. Okay, so we've got to be pretty aware of that. And now I'll show you the other direction, and then we'll work on it with Luke a little bit here. So I want to roll the hindquarters, right? Roll the hindquarters. I want them to get a little bit better, and then I'll bring the front quarters through. No hands, just your legs, you see. And no spur. There's no spur in this horse. Maybe Lenny can zoom in and show you that. If you're using your spur, what you'll find is the horse will not look through the turn. He'll look at your leg. What you got? Okay, so I'll show you now that Lenny's zoomed in. I'm going to roll the hindquarters to the left. So watch my left leg tighten. See, as soon as it changes, my horse comes. And then there, my right calf tightens. Just my calf. It's not the bottom of my leg. There I'm going to do a little bit more. My horse came out of the turn. Good. And then I'll change my seat to the backwards position and rock him back. Now, when you're doing this, I'm going to go ahead and explain it because Luke will run into it. When I'm using my leg aids, just like everything else, okay, if I want my horse to come left, there's a real fine balance point, and this is why you don't want to do too much too soon. Say my horse, all right, I'm going to influence him to look to the left with my left leg here, okay, and then I want to fix it with my right one. So you'll just slightly increase the pressure to have the horse look. But watch my leg here. It's not a whole lot. If you go to sticking your spur in there and mashing on them, it'll be too much, and the horse will go forward or they'll push against it. So keep that in mind when you're teaching this. It's just a little bitty force. And if you think about it, like let's see, if somebody comes to get your attention, right? You want them to use minimal necessary force to get your attention. If all it takes is a hey, you'd probably like that. You don't want them hollering or shouting or coming and tipping you over. Same thing with your horse. If you would like to get him light, if you'd like to get him to where you pick up on the reins and they bridle up, and you'd like to get them to where they turn around real nice, you have to start with minimal force. That's kind of the whole goal with horsemanship. Minimal necessary force. And now we're going to move on to Luke, and we're going to kind of work at this and see where Luke's at. But see, this is a great tool. I just use my legs to face up to Luke, so my hands are free to send signals. Okay, Luke, did you put your leg on and he kind of walked forward? Okay, so this is going to happen to you guys right here. And this is perfect. This is why I love Luke. So, all right. What's going to happen is Luke put his leg on his horse, and his horse went forward. So what do? All right, we're going to allow our horse to go forward for a couple of steps. You're not going to block him right away. We're allowing the horse to do the wrong thing, and what we're going to do is not release pressure until he starts thinking about the right thing. So what we'll do is we'll put our leg on, let him go a couple of steps, and then help him with that rein. And before you do it, whenever it starts to feel better, you'll release both. And there. Good. Okay, same side. Quit. Ah! So that's the tail. I was over here thinking it was Luke's horse's fault, but old Lucas was doing too much. That's what I was talking about. It's minute. Luke don't even have spurs on, and he did too much, okay? We're all going to do it. So if you're running into this, what I want your train of thought is what am I doing? Sorry, I probably blew your ears out hitting the microphone. What am I doing? Don't go right to, oh, stinking horse. When you get in the habit of looking at yourself, oh man, you're on the path and growth will be there. So let's do that again. See how little you can do. There's the flexion. There's the feet. All right. Let's see what we get. Just hang in there and release. Rock him back. Why'd you pick up on your reins first? We were just talking about give him a chance. There. Good. So this is what you're going to run into. The same thing. It's hard to do. It's easy to say, and this is the example of it. So we'll think one thing, but our bodies will do another. This is hard. This is horsemanship. This is the journey. This is why it's so much fun. So keep that in mind. All right, let's do that same side one more time, huh? Do a little bit more with that leg, see what comes of it. A little bit more. Okay, help him with your rein. See, he's thinking now. He's not taking off as far forward as he was the first time, isn't he? Good. Rock him back with your seat. Good. Okay, stop right there. Yeah, now we're good. Now, what do you think would happen if every time your old horse you put your leg on, he walks forward? What would you think about maybe what I mentioned earlier? You might, just get the flexion and release. What do you think about that?
Just get flexion with the rein.
No, with your leg. What have you gotten every time before the feet have moved? Yeah, what have you not released for? Yeah. So just because you've done it before, we're riding the horse where he's at. That's what people mean when they say ride him where he's at. Sometimes he'll say, hey man, I don't quite know about that. And that's your chance to say, hey, I'll show you. And he'll like that. He'll appreciate that. All right? Now let's see what we get. Look at that hind foot come up under there. Now quit. Different, huh? Cool. Now you're in the perfect spot. Let's work on the right side. There. See, you're figuring it out though. Right now you're flirting on that teeter-totter. This is good. Okay. Go ahead and finish up and then let's talk about that. All right. I'm going to have Luke turn his horse around here so you can see it. Don't hit his fetlock on the corner of that bridge. So, you guys didn't get to see it, but Luke's transition with his leg was pretty stark. Subtle. Make it subtle. Yeah. Let's try it again. Now watch Luke's leg, his right leg. Now don't do more. Stay right there. See the difference?
Yeah, where I was more like...
Well, and you were kind of caveman-ing it. You were just kind of shoving your leg back there. We were just talking about how little can you do. And relax your legs. There you go. Now just give him a rub. He's doing good. You're doing good. Yeah, so he says, I appreciate that. Okay, now we're going to do the left side. So if Lenny will focus in on Luke's left leg, I can't see it, but I'll be able to tell. There comes the flexion. The horse just thought about it. Look at that. That's the hindquarters first. You should have released for that. So what foot moved when you put your left leg on?
The back leg.
And then the right hind moved out, preparing for the left foot to come under. So we're breaking these pieces down. If the horse has the idea, smallest change, slightest try, that's what we reward. Okay, Luke's going to try the right side. Just tighten that calf muscle up. Good. Now rock him back. Let's get away from the obstacles. Legs, 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 less. Keep him backing up, but just do less when he starts to speed up, you see. There you go. Cool, cool, cool. Okay. Left leg to roll the hindquarters. Ah! Better. That was much more subtle. There we go. Now let's get that foot and release. Rock him back. Have him hustle just a little bit. Yep, right there. Cool. So, if you guys will take note, we just got an overall improvement with Luke and his horse. We got Luke's leg aid smoother. Immediately, his horse responded and said, I understand that. So why does he understand that? We started communicating more effectively. So let's work one more time on the hindquarters, and then maybe we'll try the front and see how that goes. So Luke's tightening up his right leg. He's going to do a little bit more to gain the flexion. Do a little bit more. Now help him. Help him. I'd like to see that better. And don't be afraid to go down there and help him. But what I'm trying to show you is you don't jump down the rein right away. You allow the horse to figure it out. Now let's go to the left. Okay, now open the door and try and bring the front through. Now his right leg is going to come in. Right leg, less, less. There you go. Right leg, less. Keep it active, but less. Right leg, quit. Good. So what I want you to look at is when the horse starts looking out of the turn, do just the ever slightest bit more. And then as soon as he looks in, you better slack up a little bit. That's what I'm saying when I say less and more. So that's what I was talking about like before you started, was if it doesn't work, I'll do just a little bit more to get him to look in. You know how I showed you that like on getting a horse to face up? Like if you got your horse going around the round corral and it is just blatantly ignoring you, looking away, you should be doing a little bit more. And then whenever that eye changes, the body changes just the slightest, you should be backing off. That's the prerequisite to hooking on. The horse doesn't just hook on. There's a lot of things that happen before that. And it's the same thing with the turn, because this is a big ask, asking a young horse to stay balanced on a turn and not pulling on his face. How many horses do you see that do that? Not a ton. So it's all about how accountable we hold them. All right, let's try with our right leg. Hindquarters first. Good. Now front quarters. Left leg comes in. Left leg, left leg, left leg, left leg, left leg. And help him. Show him the turn with the rein. Let's go ahead and fix this. We kind of got in a bad spot there. Just slow down, slow down. Just show him that turn. We haven't messed anything up yet. And quit. Good. Now back him up and kind of come out here to the middle so we got some room to work. This is good, because this is when you guys get to trying this on your horse, you'll find out how challenging it is. All this is body control. All this is getting your horse more broke. I've only heard a few people complain about a horse being too broke, so it's always a good thing. All right, hindquarters, whichever way you like. Luke's tightening up his right leg right now. There comes the flexion. Now look through the turn, open the door, have the outside leg come in. Now direct him with the rein before he gets too far. See, you were about how many steps late there? Just a couple. Good, now quit. Rock him back. Rock him back. Little bit more, come on. Maybe help him with your reins, show him, say, hey, I'd like you to hustle just a little bit more. Now feather your legs again. Good, put a little more energy in them. Put your hands down. There you go, cool. All right, now this time you'll just go through the turn. You'll put your leg on. We're going to start with the turning leg first, not the hindquarters. And then you'll be ready to support him with your rein. Let's see if we get anywhere with that. Leg, 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 leg. Help him with the rein. Now take the energy out of your body. Slow it down. Slow it down. Good. I like that. So what Luke did was he released the rein to see if the horse was going to make it. Almost. And, ooh, we're getting close. A little bit more. I need him to look through that turn, Luke. Almost. Almost. Come on. We're so close. Right there. Yeah. Rock him back. Cool. So that is exactly what you'll deal with right there. Your horse will go forward, he'll go backwards, like we were working on with Patron, the real young horse. It's the same thing, except it's all going to be at different levels. The tools you have to influence that are your legs. And all we're trying to do is influence the flexion with our legs. We move one leg, we get a flexion. We move the other leg, we get a flexion. And then we can add some direction once we get that. So I hope that, well, let's try it one more time here. Maybe come out a little bit further. Now this time we're going to do the same thing, except Luke's going to do it with reins and no legs. Just wait. Really, really get that flexion nice. There you go. Just wait. Just wait. That's the way. Now quit. How'd that feel? Looked good. Cool. Now you'll slide the right leg back and roll the hindquarters. Yeah, better. Cool. All right. If you would like to get good at horsemanship, you have to remember, anybody who's ever rode a horse is either just a man or a woman. They're not special, okay? They got 2 hands and 2 legs if they're fortunate, right? And we got 1 brain. So it's not rocket science. You have to gain command of your legs and your hands. And for some of us, we got to get some control of our mind. We all have the same amount of aids to use. We have to be careful with how we use them, okay? So that's what we're working on. We're just dialing it in. The more accountable we hold ourselves, the more accountable they'll hold themselves.